Hey guys, it's Guy at the Movies here. Welcome to the live watch along of the Snyder Cut. And I'm kidding. Of Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. So if you are getting ready to queue up with us and watch the film alongside us and listen to us, you need to have the Ultimate Edition, which is the 3-hour edition, ready to go. And we will talk through all the differences between that and the theatrical cut. We'll get to the news of today. With Zack Snyder's Justice League being released in 2021. And I'm sure that we'll have some lively conversation and opinions when it comes to what is happening with the DCEU. But before we get into that conversation, I first want to introduce our guests here. And I'm going to start off. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so it seems like it's always a crapshoot with how my connection is going to be, and it looks like tonight is going to be, on the lesser side of things. But hey, Mike and Elliot, welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to have you. I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to introduce yourselves before we get started here, and we will jump right over to Mr. Elliot.
Hey, what's going on, Joe, Mike? I'm excited to be with you guys tonight to talk about BVS, one of many films by Zack Snyder in the Snyderverse, and we'll obviously get into the conversation about the Justice League cut. But no, very excited to watch this film. I think this film definitely kind of improves itself with the Ultimate Cut versus the theatrical edition, and we'll obviously break that down and all that fun stuff. So I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight to break it down. But as far as me, yeah, I'm Elliot from Movie Files. Check me out on YouTube. Movie reviews from when things were at the theater. I like to talk about the big blockbusters or the small indie films, but since we don't have movies at the theater, I'm reviewing a lot of stuff from streaming platforms, Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV Plus, Disney Plus, all that fun stuff. So movie, TV shows. I have my own watch alongs on my channel. We have a lot of fun stuff on the channel, so definitely check me out there. And I'm also on Instagram as well. So definitely check me out on those social media platforms and join the conversation. But yeah, I'm very excited to be here with Joe and Mike to talk about BVS.
And a pleasure to have you once again. We've done a few of these together, and the conversation is always great, always fun, and always insightful. So not that they're big shoes to fill, but Mike, we are throwing you into the Viper's pit here. Mr. Mike Lovins of the Real Gay Movie Show, go ahead and tell us who you are and where we can find you.
All right. So my name is Mike Lovins, as mentioned. And I am one of two folks on the Real Gay Movie Show podcast. It's a weekly podcast talking about movies. And it's usually the movie of the big release of the week and that kind of thing. The name might lead you to believe it's all gay movies, but it's really not. It's we are talking about the current releases, which right now, unfortunately, is very few and far between. But so you can find me on Twitter at either @Real Gay, which is REEL, or just @Mike Lovins, and of course Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Real Gay Movie Show. So also. Huge Star Wars fan, if that's not obvious or not enough, but also a big. I play bass in a rock band. My camera's kind of backwards here, but some of my bass is back there. Big rock guy. So glad to be here.
Man of many talents here, Mike. Man of many talents.
Nice.
Well, I'm happy to have both of you here. Of course, this is a film that definitely has a lot of different opinions surrounding it and a lot of controversy surrounding it. But another film that has a lot of controversy surrounding it is the 2017 release of Justice League. And for those of you who are living under an internet rock, because it seems like what everyone was talking about today, Zack Snyder, near the end or at the very end of his live watch along of Man of Steel, welcomed Henry Cavill onto his watch along, and then had a bunch of Snyder Cut fans pop on, and through some Q&A, it finally was revealed that we will indeed be getting the Snyder Cut. They've titled it Zack Snyder's Justice League, coming to HBO Max in 2021. So He mentioned there's a lot of work to do, and through reading some of the releases that were really obviously queued up to go as soon as he announced it, we are seeing that Warner Brothers is throwing about $20 to $30 million at the film to finish some effects, to add some new dialogue, and re-record some dialogue. And we're also seeing that we may get a 4-hour movie or an episodic adventure, a la maybe HBO Max's Mandalorian play. So, guys, what are you thinking about this news? Are you excited for it?
Yeah. Elliot, I don't know if you were getting ready to jump in there, but
no, right?
Man, this is big news. I mean, as much as I love Star Wars, comic book movies are my next favorite thing, and I'm a defender of a lot of what Zack Snyder has done. My co-host can't stand it, so I'm glad he's not here to give his opinion tonight. But this is super exciting news.
I share that same happiness from Joe and Mike, but I will say there is a little bit of concern from the overall kind of the logistics behind everything that Joe just went over in regards to $20 to $30 million to put more into the film, which kind of brings me to my, I don't want to say criticism or negative thoughts, but 20 to 30 million towards a film that came out 3 years ago, which isn't going to maybe affect the future of the DC universe. So 20 to 30 million can go towards, reshoots of maybe Wonder Woman 84 or Black Adam or the Flash movie and all the future films they announced. So it's an exciting time. I love that. Zack Snyder, we're all content creators, and we couldn't imagine putting out something that we put years of our lives in working, of putting something on the big screen, and unfortunate situations came about and you weren't able to get your vision out. So that is so awesome that he's able to get his voice heard and put out the film that he made. But at the same time, there were some things that came around the Snyder cut or the Snyder cult of fans that were kind of toxic and very just, the bad side of fandom, right? So there's a lot of things to kind of discuss with it, but at my heart, DC fan, I'm so excited that Zack Snyder is able to get his vision out there. But what does that mean for the future of not just the DC universe, but just the film industry moving forward? So,
yeah, it's very true. I mean, we joked around earlier about first it was the Sonic redesign being pushed by fans, and now it's the Snyder cut. And and Mike, as a big Star Wars fan, you might be really into this, but will we see that, JJ Ultimate cut of Rise of Skywalker, which I don't think exists, but, back to, what we're going to see with the Snyder cut, what's interesting about the news, and this was brought up on the quarantine conversation with Griff Schiller earlier, is that we're getting the 4-hour full cut. We're not getting the version that originally was supposed to go to theaters when Zack Snyder was originally still on board, which would have been 2.5 hours or whatnot. We're getting the full ultimate cut. We're watching an ultimate cut tonight, but we're going to get that of Justice League. So I'm really interested to see what exactly we're getting and what seeds it might lay for the future, if any, or if, I know we chatted earlier that maybe this is just the final nail in the coffin for this time period of DC films.
Yeah, I really like the idea of kind of a 4 1-hour miniseries kind of format. I think that could really work, especially when you're putting it on a TV type streaming service. It's just a way to expand their content, get those people who are trying the 1 week free trial to have to come back a couple weeks.
Yeah, no, to that point of Mike just saying, maybe, whether it is broken down in 4 parts, that's 4 weeks. And normally it's a 30-day trial. So that kind of lines up to that, that time frame. But it's a lot of people were making speculation about that would just be the obvious choice to maybe put it on HBO Max versus theatrical run or what have you. So again, it's just very interesting to see where that $20 to $30 million applies to. Because again, at this point in time, I find it probably hard to believe that a Ben Affleck will come back to do reshoots for whatever that $20 or $30 million budget goes to, or I'm just fascinated. Again, I'm very excited about the Snyder cut, but I am even more fascinated to see maybe a doc being made about this in regards to what happened. What's the logistic behind all this? What's the contracts look like? What were things that were said behind closed doors? Who was the one that said, was it AT&T to say, hey guys, we got this new HBO Max and we're throwing everything at it. So
we need content.
We're putting content. So I just wonder who made that call. Was it the people that left Warner Brothers that wasn't a fan of the Snyder Cut? So many questions.
I'm just glad we're not going to have a CGI lip.
And that was pretty funny today when they were easing into that question of, are we going to get a Snyder cut?
Yeah.
Henry Cavill did say, I would love to see a cut without the mustache. So, good humor there. But Are we ready to go and turn our attention towards Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice, the first controversial film? Well, I guess Man of Steel, the ending is very controversial, but, the main controversy in the DCEU until Justice League came around. We ready to go?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So everyone, if you are on board watching along with us, please make sure you have the Ultimate Edition up. And we are going to press go in 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, what I'm pumped for is that we are going to have the opportunity to see a story that started back in Man of Steel finish. And that was commented on earlier as being a fan of allowing a producer, allowing a director, allowing a visionary to complete that vision. And I just think it's a shame that it took this long for us. And of course, there were other real world factors going on at the time. But still.
I mean, he has a shorter leash than Jeffrey, with the Dahmer cut for Superman 2. It took 40 years to see his vision. So definitely 3 years versus 40. I'm pretty sure Zack will take those odds.
Yeah, and with the way that they did the Donner cut, like that's why I wouldn't have been surprised if all they did was just throw whatever they had already ready to go.
Right.
Because that, the Donner cut worked, but it's not something that I revisit a lot. So something that's completely finished, I think will have more rewatchability.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's honestly what I really thought was going to happen. I thought they were just going to say, all right, let's get it done with. Let's just throw it out there and have those drawings of the storyboards in the certain spots be like, imagine Martian Manhunter here.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what's even going back to what you were saying earlier, Joe. Is it putting the nail in the coffin, or does this? I don't know how Zack Snyder feels about some of the people that's still there from the old regime and Warner Brothers, but he seems to have a pretty good relationship with the Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, and some of those people that are still in the. Jason Momoa was standing by his, Zack for this entire time. Does Zack Snyder come back and do? Because that's when I thought I haven't watched the watch along yet, and I'm going to definitely check it out later today, but. Will Zack Snyder come back to do a Man of Steel 2? Like, is that a conversation that can be had, or is it just like Warner Brothers, like, we need to just, never? I don't know.
I would love that.
Because they're giving $30 million to do a 3-year-old film. There has to be some type of goodwill there to make that happen.
You don't give that to an ex.
Right. Yeah. I think it's the new regime at Warner Brothers and DC that is making this possible in the first place, and I think that's what opens the door for the possibility of Man of Steel 2.
Yeah, and even watching Man of Steel today, so I was kind of like half watching while I was working and trying to listen for the announcement. It's a great film in my opinion. I just love everything they did there, even the controversial piece. I had my thoughts as to why, when I first saw it, why they went that route. And just hearing Zack Snyder talk about it's just great. I mean, any filmmaker talking about their vision is really movie porn to me.
I've never had a problem with the end of Man of Steel.
Me neither.
Me neither. Because I always looked at it as like, everyone was talking about Superman killing, and obviously in this film, Batman killing. But to me, I always looked at it, I mean, Superman will not kill a human being. Zod was an alien on a Kryptonian planet that was threatening the humanity, the world. So it's just like, he had to do what he had to do to end that. So
he was killing a virus.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I'm just like Joe and Mike. I'm right there with you guys in regards to, I really, really appreciate what Man of Steel did. And that's what I love about Zack Snyder, right? And I love what content creators, there's so many different versions of what Superman means to everybody. There's so many different comic book runs, different iterations of the character. And Zack decided to make Man of Steel, his Superman, more of a what Superman would look like in today's society. And I think he did a good job of portraying that. But I do have a problem with some things in this particular film that we'll talk about later in regards to the development from Man of Steel to BVS.
I can't wait to hear them. Have you, and I should have asked this question on the live stream earlier, have both of you seen the Ultimate Edition?
Oh, yeah. That's the only, to be honest, not to be rude to the theatrical cut, but I haven't watched the theatrical cut since I've seen that theater. I only watched the Ultimate cut, and it's just because I find that film to be very hard to watch. I'm being honest.
I'm with you. So we have a question here. Is this the Snyder cut? No, this is not the Snyder cut. We still have a couple of months to get to 2021, and then I assume we're probably going to be looking at the later months of 2021 before we get anything. But that will be next year. And a question from Film Hunter here. Are you more excited about Snyder Cut or Reeves' Batman? So, Mike, we'll go to you.
I think I'm actually more excited about the Snyder Cut just because it's that unrealized vision that what could have been, always just wondering. I'm more nervous about the Reeves Batman than I am excited. You know what I mean? Batman has always been my favorite comic book character. So every time they keep rebooting Batman and bringing somebody in, I get nervous. So
I'm with you. How about you, Elliot?
I love this scene, by the way, just opening shot, just that connective tissue from Man of Steel to this just made so much sense. And I was kind of hoping that was kind of the direction of this film. But we have to break the story of a bullet and the Lex Luthor storyline, which we'll talk about later. But no, to answer your question, which one am I more excited for? If I had a door A or a door B, if the Snyder Cut was released in theaters, and if I were to have a choice, I'm going to be honest, Mike. I'm going to have to go towards the Matt Reeves direction, my friend, just because I am a fan of. Same with you. Batman is my favorite superhero in the DC universe and just in general. So I am really looking forward to see what I'm a big Matt Reeves fan. I love Pattinson. I love the cast they're putting together, and I think from everything I'm kind of gathering from what they're trying to do, I'm in the same boat with you, Mike, in regards to the origin story. How many times do we have to see his mother and father die?
We just saw it again.
Yeah, we just saw it again. So I'm hoping they take that maybe Spider-Man Homecoming approach, where it's just like, hey, Uncle, and some people don't like it, right? They want to see Uncle Ben, or they might look at Iron Man, Tony Stark as the Uncle Ben of that universe. But I think that Matt Reeves is going to maybe have his Batman already had his trauma, and he's going to be kind of, the newer kind of rookie on the street, and we might not have to rehash some of those stories that we've seen before. So I'm really looking to see what they do, and again, seeing the Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano, Colin Farrell, and that amazing cast, Andy Serkis as Alfred. I'm just really, really looking forward to see what he does, and it sounds like it's going to be a film noir, detective Batman, gritty, long Halloween. Sign me up for it.
Here's the thing: neither answer is wrong.
Exactly. Yep.
My only concern with Matt Reeves' Batman, I'm very excited about it. I like him as a director. I like the choice of Pattinson. My concern is that news that broke this week from Colin Farrell that he may not be in it as Penguin much. And I'm wondering if this may turn out to be a big setup movie where you get a glimpse of a bunch of the different villains, and maybe that's the Arkham storyline. Maybe we're incorporating Arkham in more. And I love that. I've talked about that in past streams. But I just hope that they don't try to overdo it and really focus in on a good story. So I have no doubt they will. But at some point, I guess there's a part of me that enjoys seeing those nostalgic moments, like the pearls falling to the sewer. Uncle Ben. That sounds terrible. I love seeing Uncle Ben die
over and over. Right?
Here's the thing, though. A quick flashback or something like that.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with. It's the dragged out slow motion version of that we've seen over and over.
Right.
So not a fan of what happened at the beginning of this one?
Right. I mean, no, it's fine. It's just I don't hate any of them. But we just don't need to see it again, especially 5 years later, whatever.
Yeah, I understand.
So I will say too, what you were just saying too, Joe, in regards to the Colin Farrell not maybe being in the movie that much. I actually kind of maybe like that idea, because if I'll be honest with you guys, again, I love Batman. I love what we get in this version of Batman and Christopher Nolan and all the other Tim Burton ones, but just kind of thinking of half of those films, the standouts were the villains versus the actual character, which is Batman. Like, I honestly think Dark Knight, Heath Ledger, in my personal opinion, outshine Christian Bale. So I'm actually liking that maybe this will be a straight up story focused on Bruce Wayne and becoming Batman. And yeah, there's going to be the rogues gallery, which I think he has the best rogue gallery of any comic book character. But I'm actually liking that it will be maybe focusing more on Batman than these iconic villains.
Well, and they're saying that we're finally going to get the detective Batman in this, and I think that does lend itself to being more of his story.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and we haven't really gotten a lot of that in. I don't know that we've ever really gotten a good detective Batman story.
Nope. I mean, you have your hints, little things that Christopher Nolan. I think of the whole Dark Knight with the whole bullet and the first Batman finding out where the water streams and finding that it was, Scarecrow, and then Dark Knight Rises, figuring out where Bane. But that was just like a couple scenes. But I'm feeling like Matt Reeves is going to really dive into him being the world's greatest detective.
Got to do the Bane voice, right?
Love it.
That scene there with Bruce Wayne holding that kid and looking up, that look on his face, that's so powerful.
It is. It's
some great acting.
Mm-hmm.
It's some absolutely great acting.
I mean, this is maybe a little controversial, and despite how much I love Michael Keaton, because that was like my youth, Ben Affleck has really been one of my favorite Batman. It's really such a shame that his tenure was cut so short.
Yeah. I think a lot of it was a series of unfortunate events that led to a really short tenure with him, and it's everything we've talked about with DC. It's things in his personal life that all kind of, came together to really put a damper on.
At least for a little extra Batfleck, we do have Suicide Squad to go to. So.
And we do have the Snyder Cut next year.
There you go.
That's right.
There you go.
But you know what's wild, and we'll get to this, and we'll point it out when it happens in the Ultimate Edition. But there are characters in this Ultimate Edition that were completely cut from the original theatrical cut. And and we're going to get the same with Zack Snyder's Justice League next year. 2 or 3 actors that filmed scenes that weren't included, and I think one of them was supposed to be teed up for the Green Lantern and all that fun stuff. But so now we are overseas, and we are dealing with a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
As one does in a Superman movie.
Exactly. This to me is, like I said, there, some criticism with the storyline. I just felt like this. I get the idea of it. Number one, it highlights the Lois Lane, being that she's somewhat of a detective herself, one of the best journalists, in the DC universe, and I love that aspect. But I don't know. This whole subplot to me just wasn't. I wasn't a fan of it, for being honest.
So, do you guys think at all that this was supposed to be the Jimmy Olsen? Or did they kind of just throw that name in there for kind of some fan service? Because if it's supposed to be the Jimmy Olsen, they did him bad.
So I don't think it is. And back when I was watching Zack Snyder's watch along, he kind of said like, "Oh, it's open for interpretation." But it kind of reminds me of what they did with, if you ever watch Smallville, the show. They did something similar where they introduced a Jimmy Olsen, and then there's a whole nother Jimmy Olsen down the road. So I don't know, but I think that at the very least, it was name recognition to get people involved in the film.
Yeah, and I see it as like you just said, Joe, in regards to open to interpretation. Zack Snyder kind of does that with his films, like even this film that we're watching now, Doomsday. That isn't really the Doomsday that we're all used to. This is the creation of Lex Luthor, not the Doomsday from the lore of Superman. So I think he kind of throws that in there. I guess you can look at it as like an Easter egg more than like an actual character of a comic book person. So.
And we'll get to the Doomsday conversation later. There were some tidbits that came out of the Man of Steel conversation today that I thought were pretty fascinating. So it was a nice tee up for this conversation. But one piece, we're going to talk about the difference between the Ultimate Edition and the theatrical edition of BVS. And this, I think, is a prime example of this whole setup doesn't really pay off or make much sense in the theatrical edition. But with the additional scenes in the Ultimate Edition, you get you understand more of what is going on here and what the whole setup was. And to me, that's just, I just can't, I mean, I can believe it because we've seen it time and time again, but it just bothers me so much that the original version was able to make it to theaters without the key pieces it needed.
It's funny. I almost feel like I'm going to need to go back and do a rewatch of the theatrical version because I don't think I've seen it, since being in the theaters. And I don't know if I'd remember all of the differences.
I luck out because I am currently, I've mentioned this before on other streams, but I'm currently at my parents' house helping them out during the quarantine. And my father's a big television watcher, and Batman versus Superman and Justice League have been on TNT like 3 times a week. So we've watched a lot of pieces of it, and they're not showing the Ultimate Edition.
Because it's like 30 minutes, right? That this
yeah.
Ultimate Edition adds to the film, which is crazy that there's 30 minutes of a chunk of a film that. It's crazy, which is so funny about, going back to Zack Snyder. It's so interesting. His visions are so ambitious, and almost all of his big films have like ultimate cuts, the Snyder cut and all that stuff is really interesting. So it is going back to what Mike was saying in regards to maybe the whole TV approach of a 4-hour miniseries. And I would actually love to see Zack Snyder do a television series if he can really get his vision out there and not have to worry about getting truncated or getting his films cut in half. So
what if they tee up the Green Lantern in the Zack Snyder Justice League, and then Zack Snyder turns his attention to like co-producing or co-running the Green Lantern show that is supposed to be coming to HBO Max? Whoa.
A lot of possibility. I know Greg Berlanti is like the man on the ship on that show, but I would love to maybe see Snyder, or even, I don't know if they'll, you brought up Mandalorian earlier. I don't know if it would be a Mandalorian situation where you have different directors come in and direct an episode, and maybe you get a Zack Snyder or get a, whoever's wants to tell their stories of Jon Stewart and Jordan Howe, but that could be a possibility.
Film Hunter is saying Val Kilmer was his favorite Batman. Nice. Thoughts on Val Kilmer as Batman?
Better than George Clooney.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. That is for sure. Yeah, it's perfect. Some of those Batmans, you forget that they, those popular actors played those characters. I don't think he was given the opportunity as some like a Michael Keaton or a Christian Bale or even a Ben Affleck. But I'm glad that that's your favorite. He's not mine.
Was George Clooney the nipple Batman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Batman and Robin.
I couldn't remember when it was.
Yeah.
I will say though, I did like Chris O'Donnell as Robin. Even in both of those. I mean, casting wise, the movies weren't so great, but
look, at the end of the day, I think those movies are not great, but if you remember the time that they were created, that was very much the superhero movies you would get in the 90s. So I didn't hate them. I mean, I would still watch them if they were on today, but Film Hunter wants to change his tune here. I am joking, it's Bale, LMAO.
Gotcha.
We are happy.
Batman Forever, I actually think is a good movie. I liked that one. So Val Kilmer was a good Batman. I think Tim Burton had a little bit more to do with that one in the production role, and I think by the time Batman and Robin came out, he was done.
I agree. I agree with that. So I always think this is a cool scene, just showing how they are on the same wavelength, really, with what needs to be done.
But I will say, going back to deaths potentially, that guy's dead, right? Because there's no way you just push someone through a wall without them dying.
Oh no, his spine is liquid.
Yeah, he's honor.
He's totally dead. What do you guys think of Amy Adams as Lois Lane?
When it was first announced that she was going to be Lois Lane, I was a little confused by the casting. I didn't see it, but she really grew on me. I think she does a good job with the role.
Yeah, I'm right there with Mike. I'm a big Amy Adams fan. I've been a fan of hers for a while, and seeing her career blossom to what it is fantastic. And I think, like Mike said, I think she did the best that she could with the role. I personally would have liked to seen their relationship blossom a little bit more, and AKA a Man of Steel 2. But I thought that she did the best what she could with the character, and brought her own sensibilities to the Lois Lane character, and I enjoyed her performance.
This may sound weird, but I almost kind of actually wish they darkened her hair a little bit. I know that's it's superficial, but she kind of has more of a what's that girl's name? Mary Jane look. If her hair was a little darker, details.
So, as a political nerd, I was very excited to see this angle in Batman versus Superman because I think it's a very, very true consideration. You have someone that has quote unquote unlimited power. How do you handle that as a society?
Right.
Yeah, I think that was a very smart decision to incorporate that.
Yeah.
It does give it a more real world kind of feel.
And it's funny, just catching this, that they're very big on showing the football in these movies, because in Man of Steel, they also, Clark is watching football at one point, drinking a beer.
In Kansas City, yeah. Always kind of took it as, again, another little Easter egg to a Cyborg, who was a football player in the comics. So I always kind of took it as a nod as them, alluding to Cyborg being someone on the radar, which is something that was, I don't know if you guys remember the Justice League trailers that showed you Cyborg with his, Letterman jacket as a football player, and we never got that scene. But I always took it as like a wink and nod towards that.
We will be getting that scene.
Little Watchmen Easter egg there, the end of the night.
Do you think there's any Jared Leto Joker in Justice League?
No.
In the Snyder cut?
Yeah, I wouldn't see any subplot or anything alluding to Joker at that point. I think it's unfortunate too. Another person kind of got the short end of the stick, Jared Leto. But yeah, I don't know if they had any room to. I mean, it's a 4-hour movie, so I mean, who knows?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like,
did
they throw everything at it when he was filming? But I would actually be okay with no Jared Leto in it.
I go back and forth on that, just because from what the director of Suicide Squad was saying, David Ayer, right? That we haven't seen all that Jared Leto gave to that role. So he says. And I know that there's a lot of studio involvement in Suicide Squad and what we ultimately got. I love this scene, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Me too. Makes him the boogeyman.
So,
fun fact on this. And tell me if you want me to stop bringing up things that they said on the live streams. But
I will. No, because I didn't get to watch it either. So I'm glad to hear about it.
Drop those Easter eggs.
So this one is from when they did the Batman versus Superman one. This house was an abandoned house in Detroit, but now apparently it's been like redone and rehabbed, and it's like selling for millions of dollars.
Wow,
nice. You can always say, "Oh, you can show your kids Batman was hiding in that corner."
CGI Batman scurried across the ceiling. But we got another comment here. I enjoy Forever and versus Robin. Well, not versus Robin. I thought they were stupid good, but Batman versus Robin would be a fun movie.
There's an animated one.
Is there?
Huh.
I wonder if that's on DC.
I don't know if that's what he's talking about, but it's actually Batman fighting his son, who became Robin.
Wow. Well, and we'll get to the chat about Robin a little bit moving forward, because we of course have to discuss kind of the setup and what we're led to believe has happened before, which teases the Joker.
Right.
But just checking in with the chat, I know Bearded Film Reviews, this is his first watch of either version.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So.
Nice.
Well, then I look forward to him doing his review of this movie afterwards.
See, we're all about setting up the content for other individuals here.
Right?
That is an interesting kind of way to approach this. If this is their first time watching, they saw the actual cut of the film versus us seeing the theatrical and then seeing this is much better. So yeah, that's definitely interesting, that point of view.
Some good feedback, I'm sure. I also just enjoy how they really ground everyone here. Like, just a very subtle thing of like, she's drinking wine. And, in the first one, like Man of Steel, he was drinking a beer. I just, that's a very subtle, like, hey, they're trying to be normal. They're normal people too. All right. Talking about Joker, do you think they'll be able to revive Jared Leto version? I personally feel he needs to restart somehow with aspects Batman, Death of the Family with him cutting his face. I personally don't think we'll be seeing Jared Leto again. I think they're moving on from him, especially given the success of Joker recently with Joaquin Phoenix and the spoiler connection at the end of it to potentially the next Batman film, and seeing what they do with that. I think they have a lot of pieces that are up in the air. I don't know that they're going to revisit his Joker.
Well, after today's news, we can never say never, right? When it comes to
it's true.
I don't know if a fandom will come together and hashtag release the Joker, Jared Leto Joker. You never know at this point.
Release the Leto cut.
Yeah, you never know.
I hope they don't revive Leto's Joker we get from Bearded Film Reviews.
I really don't either. I wasn't a big fan.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of it, well, I guess I can't say that, but I wonder what the reception would have been if Suicide Squad was executed per the director's original vision.
Yeah.
What we got was a mess.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I don't know if you two like that movie or.
No, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I'll give them credit for trying something different with the Joker character. It's just, to me, the execution didn't land well.
Yeah, I agree.
These are some bigger glasses for Clark than we're used to seeing.
Got an upgrade.
I'm shopping for new glasses now, and I'm looking at those like, oh, maybe I'll
get the Clark Kent.
We get a steamy love scene here, and ooh.
Representing the Real Gay Movie Show here, I just want to say.
Nice.
And I'll leave it there.
Film Hunter said that's going to make a wet mess. Oh, we're going to have to put the E on this tonight. Oh, man. What an iconic actor in and of himself with Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons, yeah. It's unfortunate we only got a little bit of him, too. It would have been nice to see their dynamic in maybe a solo Batman film.
I've really been impressed with the Alfred castings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they've gotten some pretty good.
Michael Caine, and then to try and, up that, they did it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and especially going off of graduating from what they did in the 90s films, or 89, I guess, is when the first Batman was. But, Alfred is he's gotten progressively more involved in what Batman does. And I like that. I think Jeremy Irons is the most involved of all of them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or I think was building up to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, having a hands-on connection with the equipment and the gear and all that versus, definitely.
Did either of you watch Gotham?
No, I didn't personally.
I only watched the first 2 seasons. It really kind of didn't work for me as it kept going. But I liked the Alfred that was in there was like younger ex-CIA, like middle age or whatever, but he was.
Well, I heard some pretty, and I didn't see. I don't know if you guys watched it, but the Pennyworth show, I heard that was a pretty good show for what it was. I heard a lot of people talk a lot of good things about that.
Yeah, I don't think
Epics, right?
I think so. Yeah, that it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not watched Gotham. I guess my opinion on the DC television shows are very different than the majority of people. I know that most people think that DC is like spot on when it comes to their television shows, and they have been more successful in television than in film, with the exception of Nolan's trilogy.
Yeah,
but I just can't get into them because I think what I like about DC, and Elliot, we talked about this with Joker a little bit, is the gritty version that we get on screen. I love the grittiness and the realness of all of this, but you don't necessarily get that in the TV shows. They're like, let's end the hour on a high note.
Yeah, I haven't really dove into the DC universe. Like I hear that Titans is a little bit, more rated R approach than what you see from a CW show, and the Swamp Thing and all the stuff that was on the DC Universe app. But the CW stuff. I was a big fan of most of the shows up until it just became like it became work. 23 episodes a season, an hour a piece. It's just like I can't keep up with this. But yeah, when it came to the Arrow stuff, I used to be big into the first like three seasons of that, the first 4 seasons of Flash. I dove into Legends of Tomorrow for a little bit. I watched the first couple episodes of Supergirl. I didn't like the tone of that show, but I gave it a shot just because I am a fan of Supergirl. But then everything else from there, like I didn't get a chance to watch Black Lightning, and then obviously the news about Batwoman and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with the Superman show. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. The TV stuff was at a peak, but now it seems like the pendulum might be switching with the movies, get a little bit more positivity than the TV shows.
Hopefully.
So I had heard some news that Warner Brothers had been working on ideas for a Supergirl movie, but that they dropped plans for that in favor of working on a new Superman movie. So I wonder if that could be the Man of Steel that we're hoping for.
Yeah, I think I read that news as well, and I'm very happy to hear it.
Yeah.
But there's been that whole Henry Cavill, is he done? Is he not done? And I think if he was done by now, we would have heard about that already.
Yeah.
He's never quite confirmed it, and even on the chat today, someone said like, you're my favorite Superman or something like that, and can't wait to see you back. And he said something like hopefully or something like that. So I would love that. I think they need to not branch out too crazy right now and just stick to developing what they've already started. And then like, you don't need to go Avengers right off the bat, which is what they tried to do.
Yeah, no, I'm a big Henry Cavill. I've said it before. That's my, as someone said, this is my Superman. That's like my favorite Superman. I just think that he embodies the character, and I love the direction him and Zack were going. And I would love to see, Henry Cavill come back as Superman. And it makes sense, right? You would obviously Supergirl has her own merits. She can stand on her own 2 feet, but I would think that would make more sense, especially with Man of Steel, that they kind of alluded to, her being she escaped the pod and somewhere out there. So I would think that would make sense to maybe even introduce her in a Man of Steel, because there's been many rumors that a Man of Steel 2 can be Kal-El and Kara going against Brainiac, which would be a great sequel to do so. So I would love to see Henry Cavill back, and then go into Supergirl, and then go into some of those other characters. I would love that direction.
Well, bringing Brainiac into the mix I would love that, because Brainiac's always been one of the biggest bads of DC, especially with Superman. So that would be a wonderful step. What do you guys think of Lex Luthor, this version of Lex Luthor, kind of neurotic, but kind of like the Mark Zuckerberg of Lex Luthor here?
Didn't like it the first time I saw it, but honestly, it's kind of grown on me. It fits this world that they've built, and it is a more modern take. Kind of represents, like you said, like Mark Zuckerberg type character. And if Mark Zuckerberg found some kryptonite, I'd be scared as hell as to what he would do with it. So who knows?
Right.
Or Elon Musk.
I'm right there with Mike in regards to it. Kind of grew on me to an extent. Again, like Mike said, I can see what Zack Snyder was doing again in this universe. It makes sense. Again, someone of his power, the tech guy that wants to play nice on the outside, but has some dark demons inside. But again, this was another character in my eyes, as Zack Snyder kind of real Lex Luthor, Jimmy Olsen, Doomsday. Like, is he the real Lex Luthor? He always brought up his father being the more dominant and filling in his shoes. So that I always kind of looked at, like, was this a fully developed Lex Luthor? But obviously with Justice League showing that he was going to create a league of his own, who knows I think Jesse Eisenberg is a great actor. So it would have been interesting to see him maybe grow into the role. But first outing, kind of hit or miss for me.
Did you guys see the movie Vivarium recently with him?
I didn't.
No.
It's a frustrating movie because it doesn't, in my opinion, deliver the goods near the end or towards the end. I think it sets it up and then just falls flat. But he's phenomenal. He's such an odd character in so many roles.
Yeah.
But
there was a movie I watched a couple weeks ago, the Art of Self-Defense, that came out last year, and I thought that him and Imogen Poots, their chemistry was fantastic, and I thought that was a really, really good movie, and it kind of shows you again, like you just mentioned, the odd quirkiness of his sensibilities of an actor is just so fascinating.
And she's actually in Vivarium with him. Yep.
The Art of Self-Defense was actually just recommended to me recently. I haven't seen that one either.
Oh, Mike, have you seen it, Joe?
No, it's been on my list.
Don't watch it. Have you guys seen the trailer?
No.
Yeah, don't watch any trailers. The synopsis really doesn't give too much away. I went into it. I just heard how good it was from like last year's festivals and everyone. It made it on a lot of people's top 10 lists. So I didn't watch any trailers. Went into it cold, and was very, very happy that I did that because it's a thrill ride. Very unexpected film.
That's excellent to hear. I love those types of movies. Hey guys, I'm going to jump off real quick and change because this is cutting off circulation. Hey guys, I don't think I've talked about it here since we went live, but I found my old Halloween costume from 2014 and thought it would be great to put on. But in that time, in the past 7 years, I have hit 30 and I'm on the other side of it. So my body is not the same.
So the suit's not going to make this cut, huh? It's not going to make the guys in the movies cut.
It's getting cut.
Gotcha.
We're going to change into something comfy here, but I will turn it over to you guys to keep things going. We're getting to some pivotal scenes. So
I guess, Mike, for you, man, and I'm sure maybe Joe's going to bring it up. How did you feel about the transition from Man of Steel and going right into BVS, the two iconic characters, and introducing Wonder Woman? Were you on board with that kind of immediate kind of rushing, giving us the mother load, or do you want them to kind of do the slow approach, kind of looking at it, where we're at now?
To be honest with you, I would have liked to have seen a full-blown Ben Affleck Batman movie before doing this.
Yeah.
I think that they could have even still done this movie exactly the way that they did, but still made it a little bit later.
Yeah.
I really think that they should have established Ben Affleck's Batman better.
I totally agree with you, man. And I was just kind of mentioning a little bit earlier in regards to that development of Clark, as we're seeing him doing his investigation, which we didn't get this. I do remember from theatrical cut, these were scenes that were not in the movie at all. Him going to Gotham and investigating things. So I would have liked to see more of this. And again, more alluding to like you just said, maybe even a Man of Steel 2, a Batman movie, and then give us this Batman versus Superman and introducing Wonder Woman in the Justice League versus this approach. But now
I'm okay with the way that they introduced Wonder Woman, and I don't know if that's hypocritical or not, but I don't mind that she was introduced in this and not in her own movie.
Yeah, I agree. So the way I looked at Wonder Woman in this film was the same way I looked at two iconic MCU characters, which were Black Panther and Spider-Man and Civil War. Like, they didn't get their solo movies first. They were introduced into a Captain America film. And I thought that worked perfectly for that story, but also got us excited about future films. And the same goes with Wonder Woman in this. I was so like, oh my gosh, I love who is this guy? I mean, I know Wonder Woman from the comics, but this version of Wonder Woman, like, oh, I want to know what she's about. When is her film coming out? So I definitely agree with you. I was excited to see her in this film, and I liked her introduction.
Plus, we'd never had a Wonder Woman movie before. It was actually probably not a terrible idea to test the waters with how people responded to the character.
Exactly. And there was a little bit of reconning going on with Patty Jenkins, which I appreciate what Patty did, because in this film they allude to her. She just left. She left humanity. She didn't, she wasn't Wonder Woman for many, many years. But in Patty Jenkins, they're like, no, Wonder Woman she's always there for humanity. She won't be going anywhere. So I love the little recons that Patty Jenkins did.
Yeah.
We talking Wonder Woman?
Yeah. Well,
I was just asking Mike in regards to just how did he feel about the, Man of Steel right into BVS versus Man of Steel 2, Batman, then going into BVS, just kind of getting his thoughts on it. And he definitely would have liked it to be a little bit of more of a slower burn versus the immediate. We're going to just give you Justice League, 2 films into the franchise.
I'm with you there.
But we both agreed that the introduction of Wonder Woman in this fit as opposed to her having a standalone movie first.
Yeah, I did like that. And I will also say that we get some of the best music in any superhero movie out of Wonder Woman's theme. That whole, is she with you? I thought she was with you thing. That whole scene. Oh my God. It's my favorite.
I can't tell you how many times I picked up my guitar and tried to get.
Yeah. People can say what they will about the DC universe versus Marvel. There's one thing that I think the DC has been destroying Marvel with, and that's the soundtracks. I think the Hans Zimmer score, Junkie XL, I think their scores are just so iconic. When I think of Avengers, I think of the Avengers iconic song, but outside of that, does anyone else have a memorable kind of theme that goes in their head when they think of Iron Man or outside of the Led Zeppelin song or that? But when I think of Wonder Woman, I think of that like Mike just brought up, or think of the Hans Zimmer Superman or even the Batman theme that we have here. So I think their scores are just so integral to their stories and characters.
And even going back to John Williams' Superman score and Danny Elfman's Batman. I mean, DC has done it right with all of those. And with Marvel, I think of AC/DC and Led Zeppelin. I don't think of the scores.
We're not watching it tonight, but when we get to Justice League at one point, the beginning.
I got all night. Let's do it.
The beginning of Justice League, the music. I think it's called Everybody or Everyone. Forget the title of it. It is such a great intro song.
Oh yeah. The oh my goodness. Yes, I know what you're talking about though. Yeah, everyone is, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name. That was a pretty good intro.
And then the use of "Come Together." I mean, it was just, it amps me up.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
I was making a YouTube video last week, which I'm really happy I got out now, about the Snyder cut and stuff and where we're at with it.
Timing.
Yeah, right. But when I was trying to put some sound to it, I kept coming back to "Come Together," and I'm like, oh, we can't have "Come Together" singing over me, but it's so good.
Yeah.
That is funny though, because I did bust out my bass today, and I was I was playing along to "Come Together," and I think all this Justice League talk had that song stuck in my head.
You're talking about your bass a lot. I think you want to play a little for us before the end of the night. So,
up in the bass.
Get ready for the Wonder Woman theme, and
nice.
I'll give you some "Come Together."
I like the scene here, and more like the score, the kind of the little haunting, demonic kind of music.
I tell you, I'm a big Holly Hunter fan.
Me too.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that she was incorporated into this movie.
Mm.
He had said that Zack Snyder had said he really wanted to find a role for her and was pumped when this came about, and she said yes.
Yeah.
I mean, she has her, her back history with a comic book character in Elastigirl, one of my favorite comic book movies. And
yeah.
Love The Incredibles.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I loved her going all the way back to Raising Arizona.
Oh yeah. I love this song, this music. And this is definitely probably an allusion to Darkseid and everyone in the galaxy of the DC universe,
which we'll finally see next year.
Yeah. So how do you guys feel about kind of these dream sequences that we're getting? There's 2 in this film, if I'm not mistaken, but how did you guys like this kind of the demons of Bruce Wayne?
Well, first off, I shit my pants at this one.
Oh, the vampire.
I like them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this one. The thing with, we can talk about that when we get to it, but the thing with like the Flash coming through the Speed Force and whatever that was, not so much on that one.
Yeah. That was, and we'll definitely get there. That to me was so jarring, very visually incredible, but just like, what? Where? How do we get? Is this like? And we'll get to that scene, but yeah, that was
Yeah.
Ugh.
I think there's even like, if I'm not mistaken, there's like a comic book character that is like a vampire in the DC universe that this is maybe a little head nod to.
Man-Bat, right?
Yeah, yep.
I always thought that was supposed to be a parademon.
Well, could be.
I don't know. I think that was supposed to be a bat, kind of his fear.
Because there were bats that came out behind him. Yeah.
But what's scarier, that scene or the scene of Christian Bale, like a demon bat kind of face in Batman Begins?
Batman Begins, yeah. That was pretty haunting. Because I mean, again, even with Zack Snyder with this film, he does have a history of he's his first outing, zombie film. So he has those kind of horror sensibilities and kind of sprinkles them into his films again with his kind of darker angles that he goes with these characters.
And he's returning to it with Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead, yeah. Which again, the whole Snyder Cut situation. What's up with that film? This guy is going to spend the next year perfecting Justice League, and is he not going to do post-production on Army of the Dead with Dave Bautista and everyone involved there on Netflix?
From what I've read, it sounds like it's done.
It's done. Okay, because when was the last time? I haven't heard anything about it since I think literally Dave Bautista's being cast in it, which was like 8 months ago. I haven't heard anything. I would have thought that it would have been some type of marketing behind it.
Did you say that's a Netflix movie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Netflix bought the rights to his Army of the Dead script. Or Army of Dark, was it Army of the Dead or Army of Darkness? Or
it's Army of the Dead, I believe.
Army of the Dead. Well, and probably I wouldn't be surprised if we hear some news about it because his name's in the media now, and Netflix are probably like, "Hey, let's go ahead and put that.
Let's capitalize on that."
Exactly, yeah. Which would be a huge selling point, for Netflix. So, and I'll imagine that film. You thought Extraction did big numbers. I would imagine that a lot of people will jump on Netflix to see the next Zack Snyder film.
Oh yeah.
So, real quick, that invitation that just said, from Alexander Luthor.
Yep.
Do you think that was the way of being able to retcon if they ever wanted to say, oh no, that's not the Lex Luthor that you know of?
That's what I was alluding to earlier. Like, again, Zack Snyder is like, this isn't who you think it might be. XYZ many years later down the road, a lot of people brought up the fan cast, Bryan Cranston as a Lex Luthor, which I thought would have been fantastic. But that's what you got the badass. Got to get Ben Affleck.
The badass.
I'm telling you, Ben Affleck put it in his contract. It was like, guys, I spent 8 hours a day in the gym. I need 2 shirtless scenes, ass scene. Like he made sure to put that in the contract. Which is funny because
you did get some Amy Adams side boobs, so
There you go.
Something for everyone.
This is Robert Pattinson. You have to live up to this. You got to work out like this, my friend.
I will say I don't think that the whole Alexander Luthor thing was a way of giving them some leeway down the road. Mm-hmm. I think it was just more of a way of how Lex thinks of himself and formalizes his stature.
Mm-hmm.
Because and I'm going back to like Smallville as well, but they referred to him as a kid as Alexander a lot. So I wonder if the arc was him really developing into this villain where he would end up going by Lex more. But then again, now I'm going to argue with myself. Thanks for being here. I'm going to argue with myself. At the end of Man of Steel, when they're battling, when Zod and him are battling, you see the Wayne Enterprises satellite come down, but you also see LexCorp as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's a good question, but I really don't think so. Really liking those glasses, though. I'm going to look them up.
I love too, kind of as they just said, gods among men, how we're seeing the Trinity the first time we're seeing them. They're not in their iconic roles. They're, Clark Kent, they're in their identities, right? I kind of love that duality and that kind of the introduction to this Trinity of characters not being suited up in their alter egos. which is another reason why I personally, I don't know where you guys, I think I know, Joe, I think you gravitate towards DC characters more. And that's really I love DC characters, man. Again, the gods among men and just the complexity of the characters. And, some of them stumble upon their powers, but some of them are born with their powers. I just love what the DC has to offer.
I've really liked both. I mean, growing up, my two favorite comic book characters were Batman and Wolverine.
Nice.
So
two very dark characters.
Little glimpse into my soul.
Yeah, I was always a Superman kid. I mean, everything I have behind me is like Superman. I actually just found this too. I think I won this out of like a crane machine somewhere at some point.
Nice.
Look at that face.
Oh, that is a widow's peak to end all widow's peak. Superman's just too goody two shoes.
I was gonna say this might break your heart, man. I did not grow up a Superman fan. I was one of those people that was just like, I can't relate to this guy that is in.
All right, well, we've removed. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, I'm telling you, I just didn't. But it wasn't until Henry. And I respected Christopher Reeve's Superman. I watched the show when it was out. Brandon's Superman. I respect the character, but I just never gravitated towards him. But I don't know what it was when Henry Cavill came in the mix. I'm just like, man, Superman is such a cool. Henry Cavill in my Superman is such a cool character, and then it made me kind of appreciate Superman. Years later.
Yeah, I think growing up with the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, Superman did make it to like my number 3 character, and like I got to tell you, I really enjoyed Superman Returns for what it was. I'll apologize for it from time to time.
I did like Brandon Routh, but I struggled with the story. The whole Superman has a kid thing really just
it lost me on that.
Yeah, but the rest of it, I agree.
I didn't really care for Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane either.
Mm-hmm.
Kate Bosworth, by the way, just I feel terrible. I filmed a trailer reaction earlier, and then it wasn't until afterwards that I realized she's in the trailer as well, because I just didn't recognize her.
Mm.
It's a name you haven't heard much of.
Yeah.
No. I think she worked with Kevin Spacey too much, so she went into hiding.
Bearded News. Save here, Elliot. Never been a Superman fan. I'm with Beard and Elliot, so I'm going to be purging my Instagram.
The Boy Scout. Yes, oops. So it's funny. So I don't know if you guys saw the news earlier, just kind of going back to just the DC and how they structure their films and their universe, and just kind of thinking about the news that came out last few weeks in regards to, Superman in 2001, Batman, Darren Aronofsky's Batman with Joaquin Phoenix, and then apparently there was supposed to be a Batman versus Superman with was it Colin Farrell as Batman and Jude Law as Superman.
Jude Law, yeah.
For many, many years, we would always, I think of I Am Legend, the Batman versus Superman poster. It's just like they've always been wanting to do this film. So it just makes me think that, everyone kind of compares DC to want to do the Marvel slate, but it seems like DC's been always the one to just want to just throw out these movies and not necessarily worrying about the universe. So it's just funny how and it just look perfect example, the Joker. And, we're getting 2 Batmans next year. We're getting this version of Batman and Robert Pattinson. So they always have this weird synergy where it's just like, we'll figure it out as we go.
You know what though? Like as a kid who grew up reading comic books, you go into the comic book store and there's 3 or 4 different titles of each character and sometimes different storylines going on.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I'm okay with that being how they do the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want the collaborations to feel forced when they do it.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll talk about how we feel about this movie at the end. But my hot take is I don't think this one feels forced. I think the idea originally is forced to do it so quickly. I don't think the film itself feels forced. I
agree with that. Yeah.
I personally love this film, and I don't know why, but it's just I told this story some other time. I remember walking out of the theater, and I was with 2 friends, And I was like, wow, I really enjoyed that. Even the theatrical cut, I was like, that was, there's some issues, but I enjoyed it. And my friends were like, that was pure trash and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I can't see movies with you anymore. But I just...
Well, you sure give people a reason to want to get them out of your life here.
Always looking for a reason, Mike.
I love this kind of symbolic. I don't know if does Zack Snyder say this, that like this scene kind of approach like the whole idea of the people reaching out to him, and you got the Day of the Dead of like people, the fallen people that he may not have been able to rescue, or just how humanity looks at him.
And it's actually a direct shot straight out of the comics.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also been some debate on some channels around, whether or not, I'm trying to remember how they put it, but essentially that just because it is comic accurate doesn't mean it's story accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But it's whatever. I thought it was a cool shot, and I like the paying homage to where it came from.
And I think this is Zack Snyder saying to those people that complain, like, "Oh, we don't see Superman doing Superman things or save." I mean, this it's not the whole movie, but I love this kind of showing you that he's doing stuff to help the world and save people. And I kind of love this little montage, if you want to call it that. Did Zack Snyder ever, going back to what you were just saying, Joe, in regards to the I guess the plan of Man of Steel, did he ever talk about kind of the structure of like this was the initial plan and kind of dive into Batman versus Superman, or like does he ever address like that plan, if there was one, in regards to from film to film?
Not specifically. I do think that he does a really nice job on these live streams of not throwing anyone under the bus and not really rocking the boat and allowing like what we've seen to live.
Yeah.
Even though behind closed doors, he's probably like, throwing knives at a dartboard, a picture of someone. But,
right.
I love this picture. I love, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah,
that's amazing.
Free this, yeah.
I think I actually used to have that as a. I had that as a wallpaper.
Yeah, I did too. But to your question, he has mentioned that like it was a 3 or 4 film arc that we were going to see the development of, mainly Superman, but leading into exactly, and that's also why I'm very excited about the Snyder Cut, because it's the same way I was with The Last Jedi going into The Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw The Last Jedi the first time, I thought like, all right, I like it. I'm not going to judge these movies totally until I see the full arc.
Mm-hmm.
Like what were you setting up here? And that's how I feel about these. And I feel like by taking a left turn in Justice League, we didn't get to see the full execution of Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman.
So to that point, and just this open dialogue for the panel here in regards to that type of approach to filmmaking, the planting the seeds, relying on box office receipts to fulfill your dream, your vision, versus standalone vacuum in a nutshell film where it can just stand on its own 2 legs and its own 2 merits, and not, like you just mentioned, well, I know they're making one in a couple of years, so let's see. And as we just saw, that didn't happen with Zack Snyder. Obviously, we're getting the Snyder Cut, but his vision was cut short just because of finances. It still baffles me.
Just to cut you off real quick. Here is one of the characters that we weren't able to see in
Jenna Malone.
Yep. Stepmom. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but I just want to know what you guys' thoughts are on that kind of that approach of, we're going to give this creator 5 films to tell a story, but it's a business at the end of the day. And we saw 3 films into the universe. They didn't want to continue that relationship, and he wasn't able to tell his 5-part arc, because it was supposed to be not only Justice League, but Justice League Part 2 was supposed to wrap up a lot of the, like you just mentioned, Superman story. So do you guys feel that that's a good approach, and not really focus on one film and not rely on a sequel to maybe answer other questions?
So if I may, what I'll say is that I feel like if a studio trusts the person that they're putting in to make these films to say, well, we'll give you that much of space to tell your story, they need to then let that director make the movies that they set out to make. I think the problem is that you start getting so much studio interference, and then the movie isn't what the director wanted to make. So then sure, it's like, let them, if you're gonna offer that to them and bring somebody in to do it, let them do it. And if he didn't like that, then they don't get to make the 6th one. the continuation or whatever.
I 100% agree that, none of this was a surprise to Warner Brothers when Zack Snyder set out to do it, because this is what he pitched.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're going to make all these U-turns and, take all these divergent tracks and then suddenly claim like, oh, well, Zack Snyder messed it up, or like all this. No, like you knew what you were going to get, but you cut it short because you weren't getting the money and the reaction you thought you would get.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's if you're worried about starting something as like launching a new part of the franchise, don't commit to 3 films right off the bat. That just shows their haste and I think wanting to catch up with Marvel by saying like, oh, well, like Zack Snyder, you got these. Here's what we're letting you do. But nope, sorry, we're going to backtrack now because you're not making the money.
Right.
But I
just maybe not commit. Sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was going to say maybe not commit to having to have these be such big budget. There are ways around that. I know Joker wasn't a huge special effects kind of movie, but they made it for $60 million and made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're worried about that, cut the budget.
Which I will say, and I totally agree with you guys in regards to that approach and everything that Zack Snyder did. If you're going to give someone the green light to do this film, stick with your guns. You made the bid, lay in the bid that you made. So, but what Joe had mentioned and Mike said too, at the end of the day, it is a business. And unfortunately, this film, I don't know what the numbers are, but I couldn't imagine this film being made for less than $200 million plus marketing. And the fact that they're filming to make $1 billion, when you just mentioned the Joker, a solo Joker film made more than a Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman movie that wasn't even able to crack $1 billion. So I can see the kind of, if I were to be an executive for a second, if I can imagine those responsibilities, you're letting someone make a $200+ million film, not crack $1 billion. You give them another chance to do a film, and obviously we know what happened with Justice League. And that film it makes less than $700 million. There is some reset buttons and some things that I could see why they were like, I don't know if we can continue this universe if we're not making the Avengers.
So I heard that this guy here was originally supposed to end up being Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's apparently what we'll see next year. That was the setup for the 3 movies. But going back to Jenna Malone's character, the rumors around her character was that she was either Barbara Gordon or Batgirl. So I think they were they're laying a lot of seeds down and Fun fact about the Daily Planet that I learned today. So Man of Steel was filmed in Chicago, and they took over a whole floor of a building and built this Daily Planet, the Daily Planet, and then this film was filmed in Detroit. So they rebuilt everything in another location.
Nice.
Oh wow,
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine that lives in Chicago was always sending pictures. He would drive by the set and see like where they would post like Gotham City this or that and stuff like that, and drive by and take pictures, and that was kind of fun to watch.
That is fun.
So what do you guys think of Morbius as Perry White?
Morpheus, not Morbius. Not
What
I didn't know. I was gonna say, did they recast Jared Leto as
no.
Lawrence Fishburne as the new Morpheus?
I like
what I meant.
Yeah, me too.
I did too.
Yeah.
I love Gal Gadot though. She's just such a great actress for this role.
Again, when you think of to me, a Henry Cavill and Superman make perfect sense. An Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Hugh Jackman as Logan. The list goes on and on. Whenever I think of Wonder Woman now, I literally think of Gal Gadot. I think she embodies the character. I love what she does outside of the character and kind of her, her as a person. I just think that was just, again, Zack Snyder. Say what you will about him as a director. He knows how to cast movies, and he did a great job of assembling the Justice League.
And I like that with Superman and with Wonder Woman, they didn't go with people who have names like they did with Ben Affleck.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the great things I think that always worked for Star Wars too, was casting kind of unknowns in like lead roles.
Yeah.
Spirited Film says people just need to let directors do their thing, and I think that jives with what we were saying. Film Hunter follows that up with the biggest downfall to DC so far has been the extensive cutting.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, but again, going back to if I were to play devil's advocate, how many films have we seen in the theater outside of Avengers Endgame with a 3-hour movie that, and Lord of the Rings and so on and so forth, but a 4-hour cut of a film hitting a theatrical run, if that was, the Snyder cut that he was envisioning to come out in theaters, I don't know if I'm saying, green light that. Yeah, put a 4-hour film in the theater and see how much money we make. I can, again, Snyder films, they're so expansive, they're so ambitious, but sometimes they're almost too ambitious. 4 hours is very overwhelming.
I think what we would have gotten was somewhere in between, probably like a 3-hour cut or something. And then, of course, the director's cut would be the infamous Snyder cut. If you think about, though, where they ended up, even when Zack Snyder was still on board, I think they were supposed to be around like 220, 230, which is still an hour and a half less than, the director's cut, which is wild to me. But it actually came in right at 2 hours with Whedon's cut of it, and that's with all the refilms.
It wasn't that like that was mandated though, right? Warner Brothers you're only doing 2 hours with this film. That was like a mandation from them. But again, just go, and I love Zack Snyder, but again, it just goes back to my point of his films, the way he shoots films. So like you just mentioned, if we would have got that 4-hour cut and he trimmed it down to 2.5, what's the rest of that movie look like? Which again brings us to BVS. 30 minutes of this film was cut. He's just a very ambitious director.
Yeah, this is so badass.
This is comes out of left field, but it is beautiful, and that's going to the positives of Zack Snyder as a director. That man knows how to paint a picture. He is a very visually impressive director, in my opinion. He just crazy visuals.
This is the Mad Max crossover.
Exactly.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yep.
This is George Miller's Batman.
Definitely. Which what that film would have looked like, right? In mid-2000s, Justice League Immortals. Which again goes back to Warner Brothers. Let's just make a Justice League movie and introduce the Justice League, all these new actors to the role. Very interesting studio.
Yeah, it really doesn't make any sense. We're gonna do a Justice League movie. And now we'll do a Flash movie and an Aquaman movie. Exactly. Cyborg, no, we're not gonna touch that one right now.
Very interesting studio.
I think to some degree they were trying to be anti-Marvel and have their team up kind of first, but if that was the case, then they should have just done a Justice League first, before even Man of Steel, and before this, and then
maybe that was the plan, because I remember, if I'm not mistaken, before Christian Bale and Nolan finished up their trilogy, if I'm not mistaken, I thought there were some rumblings about Warner Brothers wanted to bring back Christian Bale and to maybe play into Henry Cavill's Superman, and that might have been the narrative. But obviously, he was done after 10 years of making those movies. But
great movies too. Sorry. Superman's Army.
Now, isn't this also where Darkseid was supposed to show up, or is it just that?
I don't think he was supposed to be in this film, but I think he was supposed to be.
This is just supposed to allude to it.
Yeah, like the Omega sign was. Yeah, it's showing this is now Apocalypse. That the world has been transformed to Apocalypse. And I think the arc was supposed to be with Justice League was Darkseid makes his appearance. Justice League 2 is this was supposed to be Justice League 2, if I'm not mistaken, that the world's now Batman, Lois Lane is dead, the Cyborg and Flash are like the only two surviving Justice League members, because I believe Wonder Woman's dead at this point. And I don't know, it's very crazy, the idea that was pitched, but I think this was supposed to allude to Apocalypse in the dark version of Superman.
Which we certainly see in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is Steppenwolf involved at all in the Snyder cut, or was that a Joss Whedon thing?
I believe he's still in there, but he's not the main focus.
Gotcha.
And even his design, I think, was very different in the Snyder cut than what we got.
Yeah, I always looked at the Steppenwolf in the Justice League as like them setting up like a Loki, but there's a Thanos that's Loki's going and talking to. So he was always going to be kind of the end game.
No pun intended.
No fun, yeah. Which, speaking of Endgame and Civil War, did you guys like those comparisons? Many years of people like, oh, Batman versus Superman is basically Civil War and vice versa, because they are very coincidentally. It's always funny when you get these big budget films how similar they are to each other when they come out around the same time. Because I think this came out in March and Civil War came out like in April, like 2 months later. They very similar kind of beats to a certain extent as far as story goes. Some of the story.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever really thought about it, to be honest with you, but I could see where people would think that.
With the whole like them Batman and Superman being axed by Congress, or Superman in particular being looked at as like a controlling power, and then obviously Civil War with Wanda killing the Wakandans, and they have to put Avengers in order. So definitely some similarities there.
Okay, so that's so weird. This is literally the first time I've ever seen the Flash symbol on his chest during the scene.
Yeah, I remember being very confused when I first saw this.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if this would have played out, and we'll find out, in Justice League a little bit. More of an explanation, because I know that they are spending more time with the Speed Force and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm starting to remember little things that I read about this, and I think maybe he talked about. But there's like that there's a comic around like the treadmill, like the Speed Force treadmill or something.
Mm-hmm. Which they have in the TV show, and I remember many of the episodes they focused on that. Yeah,
yeah, and I think there was something to do with it there.
Yeah,
I don't really remember the full details, but.
Because I always thought, if I'm not mistaken, that this was that scene, like you just mentioned, it was either, I can't remember if it was Justice League or Justice League 2, where again, they're in the apocalypse world and Batman tells Flash to go back to prevent some of the events that took place in, not Wonder Woman, but Lois Lane being killed by Darkseid, which I think that was the end of Justice League, was Darkseid boom tube to the Batcave and killed Lois Lane and killed Wonder Woman, I think, and that was supposed to be, again, the man has ideas for days.
Some part of me thinks he's too smart for these movies, though, and I mean, the reason I say that is that I think he lays this groundwork of a very extensive story, but comic book fans are not looking for, in my opinion, 4 films for an arc to play out. Like they want their own contained stories as well. That's what Marvel does well, is each movie is its own contained story, but feeds into the overall narrative. This is all one.
Yeah. Which is what I would love to see, maybe Zack Snyder after the Snyder Cut, after Army of the Dead. I would love to see him have a television series, because I think he is so ambitious. He can probably make 10 seasons of something, map out 10 seasons of a show, which, going back to your question about Green Lantern, him getting involved in something like that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Film Hunter, yes, the Flash bit was in the theatrical cut. That certainly was in there. And I remember it took me forever to figure out who it was. Yeah, I was like, we hadn't seen him yet.
Right. Which, I guess, not to get too into the controversy, but I just found it so funny that whole Ezra Miller, whatever happened with that fan, how that literally Warner Brothers, you talk about money, burying story, is like, that was like 2 days we were talking about it and it just disappeared. Like, so that it just got to show you what the power of studio has over the media, right? Like, I don't know what that was. Does anyone know what happened with that?
The accounts that I read were that it was like a meet and greet type thing or something like that, and she like referenced something and like wanted him to do something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
No, from what I heard was just that he was just at a bar, and this was during when people were supposed to be quarantined. So but yeah, he was at a bar and somebody she was a fan, but just like kept bugging, and eventually he snapped.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, it's just like, again, I just remember hearing about it and not hearing about it, and we hear that a couple weeks prior to that, Flash got the whole 2022 release date, and obviously Andy Muschietti's attached to that, but we'll see.
Yeah, so obviously they're not firing him because they
apparently
made sure that story kind of disappeared.
Exactly.
Was this in the theatrical cut?
No, this was not. Yeah, when you had left, I was just talking about, because it was a scene where we saw Clark get on the boat to go to Gotham. That wasn't in the cut. Him investigating Gotham. And this was something else that they took out, because it shows you that the guy that was in prison was the whole Lex Luthor being marked by Batman and making it seem like Batman is having these people get arrested and getting murdered in jail. So it kind of shows you again Lex Luthor building the plot that Batman's a bad guy. He's branding these victims and stuff like that. So yeah, that was totally cut from the movie.
Such an intelligent story.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is.
Because it builds the momentum of like, Superman's like, dude, who's this Batman guy? Like, he's branding people and getting people murdered in prison. Like, why is no one talking about this story? But they took that completely out of the film.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a thing he does.
Yeah.
It's amazing what details a studio can feel like is justifiable to cut.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you know what? I'm going to contradict myself again, most likely here, but I do think that, to Zack Snyder's credit, he sets out a story that, with all these scenes in there, that is very understandable to even a layperson. Like someone that is not familiar with the characters and the intricate details, for instance, going back to we haven't seen it yet, but when we see the wheelchair and the lead wheelchair and, the reason it's lead, well, why didn't he see that? They don't explain that. Or it's a throwaway line in the Ultimate Edition. But for a regular person that doesn't know the details of Superman's abilities and all, it's important.
That is so huge, Joe, what you just said, because that makes Superman, again, what you just mentioned, if the audience doesn't know that he's, you can't see through lead, they're just thinking Superman just let all these people die. He didn't know what was, and that's so huge to the character, but the studio decided to think that wasn't a big part to put into the film. So
it ultimately then, I guess, goes to the question of who are they making the movie for?
Yeah.
I think Zack Snyder's making the movie for mass appeal to get people interested in these characters. I think the studio gets to the point where they're throw it out there and please the fanboys so we make the money.
Mm-hmm. And that's why, going back to the future of DC, I'm really excited to see what the people in position now, a la, do they have a la Kevin Feige-ish type of executive that's going to allow their creators have some input, have a through line, but then also allow their creators to make the films they intended to. So I'm really hoping that the future is bright for DC, for Patty Jenkins and Andy Muschietti, everyone involved in, Shazam, Black Adam, all that stuff. I hope they get their stories told on the big screen.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder, will Kevin Feige ever leave Marvel and Disney? And will he go to DC?
That would be headlines for days.
If he ever left Marvel, I think it would be to go to Lucasfilm. I think he would stay with Disney, but
yeah, that would.
I definitely agree.
That's a whole nother discussion, but I think that could happen.
Yeah, that was a whole story that came and went. He's supposed to be directing a Star Wars film, or not direct, but producer Star Wars film, and that just kind of came and went under the rug.
That's another studio that just doesn't know what they're doing right now, and it pisses me off because it's so beloved to me.
Yeah.
For more on that, tune in 3:00 on Saturday. we'll be doing a talk about it.
Yeah, and I guess to kind of going back to just the overall the person in charge of DC and kind of seeing out the vision. I remember, I thought of myself personally, I thought that was going to be Jeff Johns. He's so integral into the comic book world of DC. I thought that was oh, that's a perfect fit. But it goes to show you that not every, just someone that's used to the comic book realm doesn't always translate to the big screen. And I don't even think I think he still has his name attached to the DC Universe TV shows, but I don't know if he has any input on the films at all.
And what's interesting now, speaking of Kevin Feige, he is actually now over not only just the the movies, but also the comic books and everything
TV,
Marvel related.
everything,
So
yeah.
Yeah, that happened right after Endgame, didn't it? It was like almost like a reward. Like,
Oh,
good job, buddy.
yeah, I think so. Or right around that time that they just said, "We're giving you the keys to the castle, my friend."
It's true. It's very true. So just for everyone watching, just to make sure we're all on the same page, we're right in the middle of the 1 hour, 18-minute mark, right around there, give or take a few seconds. How do you feel about this Batmobile?
Oh, it's sweet.
Oh, wait, I love this scene.
Yes. I'm gonna have to give you my impersonation of this scene and after it.
I remember this.
Rip.
I remember this from the trailer, and I was like losing my mind.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so cool.
It is.
Lens flare.
I actually think I prefer that one over the Tumbler.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, I agree.
I love it.
This is kind of cheesy. I like it, but it's
Oh,
cheesy.
I love it. I love this line. Do you bleed? No. Do you bleed?
He's just like, see ya.
Like, man, let me get out of here before I end up whooping your ass up all up and down Gotham. I love this too.
This is sweet too.
This takes me back to, I don't know if you guys ever played the Arkham games. But
yes, love those games.
Oh my gosh.
This is to me, again, going back to Zack Snyder, man. He has these panels, these shots that just make you feel like you're watching a comic book just come to life.
Yep.
Well, and you know, with this too, I never pinpointed this until he pointed it out. So I don't know. Maybe that's me being dumb or him just not delivering on this. But his house, the glass house, and where that lake is, that is just a short distance away from the Wayne Manor. So what we're seeing is the actual Batcave, like under Wayne Manor property. If you notice that long driveway for him underground to get to like where he's at. It's so fascinating.
Yep. Really just, it always kind of gets me upset thinking about the possibilities of what Ben Affleck would have did with his Batman movie in regards to Deathstroke being the main villain, the Arkham, characters. I just really would have been fascinated to see what he would have done with the character.
Speaking of Deathstroke, did you see that the tweet from Joe Manganiello earlier?
Earlier today?
Yeah.
No, what did he say?
After the Snyder Cut was revealed or announced, he said something like, "Hell yeah!" Now for the real after credit scene, or the after credit scene that should have been, or something. And after it had like swords and a bat. So the rumor is that the after credit is like some confrontation between those two.
Wow. And I
would have set up
the movie. Yeah, that again, I would have loved to see what Ben Affleck would have done. And I was so upset about Deathstroke's movie not coming about with Gavin Evans from the Raid director. I would have loved to see what he did with Deathstroke.
And I'll tell you what, though, I really liked Manu Bennett's portrayal of Deathstroke in Arrow.
In Arrow, yeah, he was awesome.
And again, like you said, those first 3 seasons,
so good, so
good.
Yeah, Deathstroke is definitely one of my favorite Batman villains, and just such a great character. Wade.
Film Hunter, tell me, do you lift, bro?
Tell me, do you lift?
You should.
This is also a beautiful shot.
Yes, yeah.
Another example of great casting.
100%.
Yeah. I love the memes though of Ben Affleck. I can't remember what movie it was, but they had a relationship in the movie, Ben Affleck and an actress, and it's like, oh, Batman slept with your mom. It's like even more fuel to the fire of Batman versus Superman.
That's hilarious. Oh, I love this movie.
I think it's going to be it's starting to came out in 2016. This was the 4-year anniversary. I think as time goes by, people will start to really appreciate what Zack was trying to do in this film. And I think, like I said, a lot of people are coming around to it.
I hope so. I really do.
Yeah, when I was telling my co-host today, I was like, we're going to be doing this watch along. He was like, I want to support you. He said, I can't watch that movie again. And I was like, he's like, I forgot how much you love those movies. And I was like, yeah, you're hating. You're hating just to hate.
Yeah, it's so interesting too with the criticism of Man of Steel and BVS and even into Justice League. So do you guys, I guess, just kind of your approach to films, especially, Mike, you being so attached to Star Wars and, being attached to these comic book characters, do you guys go into these films like, I have my baggage of my knowledge of these characters of many years of comic books and animated shows? Do you guys go in with that lens? Like if it doesn't meet these certain, come in with a checklist. I assume you guys don't, but I know some people go in with checklists like Superman needs to do this, Batman needs to do this. And if it doesn't deliver, then they just completely shut it off. It's like, this isn't my Superman or Batman. And they don't really look at it in the filmmaker's approach in regards to how they interpret the character and things of that nature. How do you guys kind of handle that in regards to going into films, especially franchises, with your baggage of history and knowledge and appreciation of these characters?
I think as far as comic book movies, not as much, because the characters and stories changed so many times throughout the years.
Yeah.
Star Wars, I do go into a little bit with a preconceived notion of what I feel like should happen. But I'm definitely not if they didn't follow my vision, then it sucked.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I struggle with superhero movies because I feel like the key, like quintessential comic book fan is looking for them to check boxes when they go to a movie. Yeah. And any deviation from that, it's like, well, that's not Superman, or that's not Batman, or that's not how that works. And we're going to see that with Doomsday coming up. And you alluded to it, Elliot, earlier. I like what they did with Doomsday here because I think it fit the story. It's not the true story of Doomsday the way that he really came to be. But I like it. And I feel like we're allowed to like that stuff, but not in toxic fandom.
Yeah.
I feel like we're okay to get different interpretations. And if we weren't, then these movies wouldn't be successful year after year.
Exactly.
Right.
And I hope that I think we're gearing towards that direction in regards to somewhat of the fandom. Because, again, going back to the other side of the river, the MCU, which I love and adore just as much as DC. But, a lot of literally in game there's no backbone. There's no comic book that ties into what Endgame gave us. That was literally the Russo brothers taking in some inspiration from comic, but it wasn't a direct, this is based on this comic book of this way. So they're, Marvel's at the point now where their fans are just like, hey, we'll take anything you guys give us as long as the essence of the characters and some of the stories are resembling to what they know in the comics. But I hope that DC can finally get to that point where fans are they just believe in their stories and can get, don't have to go in with their preconceived notions and checklists of what they think the character should be like.
I also absolutely love this.
You are going to be on the hot seat in
Junebug.
Anybody craving peach tea right now?
Yeah. Hold the P. I think this scene was completely cut out of the theatrical cut as well.
Yeah, well, most of that character's arc right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not delivered on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I'm so weird.
Eisenberg is so Riddler. Oh my God. That's a beautiful scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Capitol is one of my favorite buildings. So to see that is really cool. I'm like, oh, my favorite things are coming together. I found those Henry Cavill glasses.
Oh, you did? Are they like $1 bazillion?
There's like 14 different models of them. You would think that they would say, like, as seen in.
You never wear glasses on a video, though, so.
I know, that's true. That suit is so cool.
That Superman suit for me. So much detail to it.
Just wait till the black one.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
Which we'll get. Will he have a mullet?
They asked him about that today.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not quite sure. I don't remember where they settled. But they were just joking around about how like some hairstyles are timeless.
If Drag Race has anything to do with it, the mullet's coming back now.
True.
That's so awesome. Like she's giving confusion and fright like all at the same time so well.
Yep.
She even looks like she's tearing up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is so cool.
And I think, isn't she supposed to be Mercy?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Granny's peach tea.
Oh man.
Jeez.
Bearded says he wasn't the biggest fan of Eisenberg in this.
Yeah, like I said, no, I definitely see the criticisms from the character. Yeah, I understand some of it.
But to go back to what we were saying earlier, it took a couple viewings for it to kind of grow on us. And if this is the first time he's seen this, I could see that then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. You know, one other, I'm just thinking about the CGI here. One of the things that they talked about today in the Man of Steel watch along was the suits that Zod and Jor-El wear at the beginning when they're battling on Krypton were all CG.
Oh, really?
And when you're watching that, you cannot tell at all.
Yeah.
Right.
It's fascinating. But he said that like they wanted the big armor, but they also wanted them to be able to move around and fight and not be restricted. It's crazy. Film Hunter asks, what role do you think Mr. Mind will have?
Mr. Mind will have in the future of the DC?
Assuming that's the question. Mr. Mind is if you saw the end of Shazam, one of the post-credit scenes.
Oh, the caterpillar, right?
Oh. I don't think it'll be beyond that end credit scene.
Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, I mean, I can see him. Yeah, maybe because I'm not even, to be honest with you, the whole Captain Marvel Shazam character I wasn't too familiar with. So I'm not even sure. Like I'm looking him up now in regards to like what, you know, he's apparently his greatest arch nemesis other than Black Adam is this Mr. Mind. So, I mean, maybe he'll play a bigger role in the sequel and connect into Dr. Savannah, because I know he didn't die at the end of Shazam, and obviously Black Panther, or Black Adam. So I'm not too sure what his role will play.
That's my my regular saying when I watch movies with people. I'm like, but we didn't see them die.
Yeah, no, because if you get he didn't die at all, Dr. Savannah. They just put him in the they put him in jail or whatever, and that's where we got that post credit scene with the caterpillar.
But then again, Star Wars doesn't care. Star Wars is like, you did see them die, but
now.
But they had a clone.
Mr. Mine, I think they'll try to incorporate him in more with Shazam. And the reason I say that is because Shazam was actually very comic accurate. I was not as familiar, but doing some reading afterwards, I was very impressed with what they were able to deliver in that film and still deliver a pretty quality family movie. So I think that they'll probably do something with him. I don't think we've seen the last of him, especially because he's such a huge villain. But I think you're going to see more of the Dr. Savannah and Black Adam in the future, especially because The Rock's been attached to Black Adam for 37 years.
Yeah, that's his passion project, right? And man, we were talking about it a little bit earlier. Before we get potentially a Man of Steel 2, I mean, Black Adam, that would be a great entry point to maybe seeing Henry Cavill again in the DC universe, because that is a very, really awesome moment that those characters have is when they clash. Because Superman, Black Adam has had a history of he has the same powers essentially as Superman. So I would love to see Henry Cavill versus The Rock. That would be awesome.
That's so cool.
At least more than a headless Superman in Shazam.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Caterpillar is the Thanos of DC. I do not believe that. Yeah. I think Darkseid is the Thanos of DC, quite honestly. They even look alike. Which is, really funny, the history of Marvel and DC, the copying back and forth. And it's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm looking up some of his abilities. Sound very, very cartoonish and very comic booky.
Which will probably work for that property.
Yeah.
Now, if they try and incorporate it into Justice League,
different story. Yeah.
So we were going to talk about this later, but I'll bring it up now. What property do they not have set up to go in DC as of right now that you would like to see DC address, bring to the screen?
So something that they haven't done yet, or something that I would wish they would have done better the first time, and it can have a redeeming story with a particular character or set of characters.
Well, I'm going to ask you about that because that seems pretty pointed. But first, a character that we haven't seen yet, someone that you would like to see on the screen.
Let's see.
I can start off. I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to see them do a Young Justice arc. I think that could be a really neat way to take the Titans from the DC Universe streaming service, and I think bringing that to the big screen could be a way to connect with younger fans who are all about Marvel right now. But seeing mirror images of themselves in a way, or seeing people their age on the screen, I think could do a lot for them to get interested in the characters, and then allow DC to start branching out into some of the more well-known but older characters that we've seen time and time again.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a cheat because we have had Robin on the screen, but I would actually like to see Nightwing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, which was supposed to be a film with the director from the Lego Batman movie, I want to say. I think he was supposed to be writing a Nightwing film, but got put on the back burner, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to think of some a character, I guess. We're getting the Ava DuVernay New Gods, which was something I was really wanting to kind of go crazy.
I forgot about that.
That kind of got lost. But I know a couple weeks ago she mentioned that she's still working on the script with the one of the comic book writers for that run. But man, that's a good question. There's so many great characters. I mean, Dr. Fate. I know very similar to Doctor Strange. He has the the whole cosmic kind of supernatural majestic side of the DC universe. I'd like to see what they do with Dr. Fate. And if rumors are true that the JLA, the Justice League of America, is going to be maybe appearing in Black Adam, we might get a Dr. Fate and Hawkeye or Hawkman and Hawkgirl. So those are some characters I'd like to see, and hopefully we get those in the Black Adam film.
Another one I wouldn't mind seeing is Lobo.
No.
I think that could be really cool.
A lot of the fan casting for that was supposedly Jason Momoa, but that's obviously he's
Right.
you know?
Well, there's I'm gonna butcher his name and I might have to look it up, but the show Krypton that was on Sci-Fi for 2 seasons, I thought was phenomenal. I loved it.
He was in season 2, right?
He was in season 2, and he was
incredible. Oh wow,
he was so funny, and they were supposed to do a spin-off of him as well. But then Sci-Fi kind of switched gears and quit the whole Krypton direction.
Yeah.
But he was great in that. So I think it's Emmett J. Scanlon
that played him.
So if they were ever to do that again and go the route of Lobo, he is Lobo through and through.
And they also heard the Brainiac was on that too, right? It was a pretty good Brainiac. The first time
Brainiac was, yep. He carried through both seasons. He was really fascinating.
Gotcha.
I do not like how they did Brainiac in Supergirl.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is Supergirl. I don't know who's running that ship, but yeah.
I tried. Remember when that was on CBS to start?
I tried.
I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say I've kind of liked that they've done with the Arrowverse, the Greg Berlanti universe, or whatever you want to call it, is I like how they've tried to incorporate people who've had DC roles in the past.
Yeah.
That's fun little fan service. Cool. I know John Cryer is Lex Luthor now.
Which is weird. I'm sorry.
It is weird, but in that context, it's kind of funny.
Wait, was he in DC before? Am I forgetting?
Superman 4. He was Lex Luthor's nephew.
Where is
he was all like, "Whoa, dude! Oh my god!" Here we go.
And didn't Linda Carter? Didn't she make an appearance in Supergirl too? As like the president?
She was the president.
Yeah.
Yep. And then an alien. I don't know if any of you saw the last Infinite Earths
the crossover.
And so it had Tom Welling, it had Brandon Routh playing Superman again, even though he was also with the Legend. I haven't been watching the show too much, but I'm still catching the crossover events. Ezra Miller even was in it.
Yeah, that was I saw that meme and I saw that clip. That was pretty awesome because again, with the whole DC for a very long time, DC, the TV world was the movies, the big ups in the movies world was like, you guys cannot use this character. I remember when going back to watching Arrow, there was like a whole Suicide Squad kind of storyline. It was like, you can't put Amanda Waller, you have to kill her. We're going to put her in the film. You got to kill
whoever was playing Bloodshot, he's got to be gone.
So I was just like, man, it's so unfortunate that they're, the whole maybe synergy of, you just brought up, Joe, maybe seeing the TV Lobo make a big screen. There was like, why not just bring in Flash, Barry Allen, Grant Gustin, and make him the Flash? But he was like, no, TV and movies do not play well with each other. So it was really cool to see Ezra Miller make an appearance on the Flash show.
Well, and that was
a good time to do it too.
Sorry. And the story behind how they made that happen was really cool too, because no one else knew that it was happening except for Grant Gustin and Ezra Miller, that they filmed it that day. So when it aired, everyone, even the actors that were in the show were like, "What?" Which I think is cool. I mean, it doesn't really do anything for the overarching story, but it's just kind of neat.
No,
or does it? Flashpoint Gus makes his. I mean, and that's the beauty. That's what you just mentioned. That question you asked about what character we haven't seen yet. That is the advantage that DC has over Marvel. Marvel doesn't have all their players under their umbrella. Yes, Spider-Man is there temporarily, and X-Men and X4 are finally back, but DC has all of their characters to their disposal. So it is kind of crazy that we have yet to see certain characters that you would think would have seen by now.
It's true. It's very true. Henry Cavill is just an incredible Superman.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Now was this scene in the movie with Kevin Costner?
Yes.
It was? Okay.
Yes, it was.
I do remember that, yeah.
But I don't know that this lead.
I was going to say, I think that is extended.
Yeah.
which I think actually then made that make a little bit more sense, because I do kind of remember that in the movie, just thinking it seems so out of the blue. Like, is he actually seeing his dad? What is this?
Yeah, this is just such a better cut of the film through and through.
Yeah.
All right, so going back to our question earlier about who we want to see, new Nightwing, redo Mr. Freeze. No more Arnold Schwarzenegger. Nightwing would be awesome. So we're seeing a lot of Nightwing. Agreement with Mike there. I've never even seen the Flash, Arrow, or the Daredevil series. Daredevil series was good.
Oh yeah, Daredevil was
awesome. It's interesting with all the discussion around whether Daredevil will pop up in the next Spider-Man, sort of as his, a defense attorney with everything going on. Mm-hmm. That could be a neat way to kind of lead in, but
I think I've heard Charlie Cox say that he is not doing it. So if that is going to be the case, they'll recast.
It's true.
It's kind of a shame those Netflix shows, like, they tried to kind of make them somewhat in the MCU, but not really. But
they alluded to the incident from the Avengers and things like that. And that was when the whole Kevin Feige, and I can't remember the showrunner of the Netflix shows. Was it Eigen? I can't think of his name right now. But I know there was like a really big division. Like, it was a point that Kevin Feige was going to walk away from the MCU because the guy that was running TV and the guy that was kind of running some stuff about diversity of the MCU was just really not wanting to have a lot of like Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and he was almost out of the door. So I'm glad that they figured that out, because that would have been a really big hit for the MCU.
But maybe a gain for DC, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. I think if it isn't Star Wars, that guy needs to retire, because he can go out like MJ, because he definitely did the impossible. He can just
Is that a Michael Jackson reference?
Michael Jordan?
Oh, but
I was saying Michael Jackson. I don't know about that, but definitely Michael Jordan.
He needs to go out like Michael Jackson.
Well,
yeah.
Bad comparison, Elliot.
Yeah.
That's how you become infamous.
Kids go to films, but Kevin Feige isn't,
Wait, you want him to play basketball?
Space Jam 3? I thought Kevin Costner was a great casting as well.
Yeah, I agree. Do you guys, I was going to ask you, going back to Man of Steel, the whole letting his father die, is that something that still kind of baffles you, that he could have saved his dad from dying from a tornado?
It doesn't baffle me, and the reason it doesn't is because I think it goes to the relationship he had with his father and how he trusted his instincts, and the whole story was, or the whole intent was, like, not to reveal himself. So I get it. Maybe it wasn't executed the best on the screen.
Yeah,
but I do get it.
Yeah. I totally hear it, yeah.
How about you, Mike?
No, I 100% agree that. Yeah, you can tell the torment that he's going through. It's not like it was an easy decision.
His face there, because I did catch that part today. His face, like, that acting is phenomenal, because he's like,
they made him so young too in that scene. They made him look like a teenager, and it was kind of, really, it was a really, really good scene. I think, again, going back to you guys, because I'm kind of indifferent about that scene, just thinking in my head that there's no way that Superman will let his father die in that manner, and obviously he's Superman, so maybe in a blink of an eye he could have saved his dad. But the idea of that scene plays out just like you said, Joe. Maybe the execution could have been a little bit better, but I know some people really hate that moment that he let his father die right in front of him and didn't do anything.
I think that scene also, though, kind of like that moment is one of those defining moments that made him so appreciative of life.
Yeah.
Of human life, I should say.
Yeah.
I think so. I will tell you that while we were just sitting here, I just ordered the Art of Batman versus Superman book. Because I've decided halfway through this film, or about 2/3 of the way through this film, that I am going to become an avid defender of Batman versus Superman.
There you go.
I'm not going to become a toxic person online, like
You don't like Batman vs Superman? You're an idiot.
like some Snyder fans can become. But I do appreciate what he was trying to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. It because and I don't know if this is something we'll talk about later in regards to 4 years later, going back to what our initial thought was walking around the theater. I know, Joe, you mentioned that you loved it. I was very I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I was kind of indifferent, because again, I saw and it goes into us knowing more of the behind the scenes aspect. Like I remember going in 2016, going into that film, we had heard about potential Snyder cuts and certain things were cut. So you go into the film kind of knowing that. So I was just like, oh man, this moment of Batman versus Superman, and to this day, that was my most anticipated film of all time. Like I was off the moon for Batman versus Superman. The trailers, the lead up to it, Comic-Con, when they had I can't think of the actor's name that plays the general. When he came out and read that line from The Dark Knight Returns, goosebumps. Like literally, this is my most anticipated film of all time, and one of my favorite trailers too. Those trailers were just so epic.
That was a huge Comic-Con moment.
Oh my god, that sort of those are one of those moments I would have wished to have been at that convention. But yeah, this movie, it again going into it with expectations, it didn't meet my expectations. But like I said, 4 years later, I've come to appreciate to see the vision that Zack Snyder was trying to display.
So going back to knowing the story behind all this, and especially with Justice League as well, there is. Someone is writing a book, and I just saw it. I'm trying to look for it on Twitter because I read a little bit about it today. Because the guy smartly used the opportunity to be like, "Hey, remember I'm writing this book?" He's like, "I just got a great ending." I'll find it though. I love these scenes.
It's so cool that they incorporated that suit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's straight out of Dark Knight Returns.
Oh yeah, which is so funny. So going back to just kind of the structure of the film, we're what was it, 2 hours and a minute into the film, and this is our first time of them going head to head, and or I'm sorry, an hour and 50 minutes into the film, but. That's just, it's incredible. Again, going back to Zack Snyder, he didn't go what we would have thought that Zack Snyder would have traditionally done, going off of films like 300, where he's so action heavy, and we're, almost 2 hours in the film, and Batman vs. Superman are finally coming to blows. Going back to just his long storm, his overarching just pacing and delivering, when he feels it's appropriate to the story. So
Film Hunter says that his girlfriend says it looks stupid how his eyes glow. To each their own, Film Hunter. To each their own.
How else are you supposed to see at night?
Very true.
It is kind of funny thinking about the logistics of that. Like,
definitely. How do you guys remember the casting? It was 2014 of Ben Affleck? Do you guys remember where you guys were at mentally? Like, were you excited about Ben coming into the role? Kind of indifferent about it?
Well, I guess it was a little bit of confusion because I wasn't quite sure what direction then, because he didn't, seem like an obvious choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think also the fact that they went with like an older Batman kind of told you that they weren't going to retread a lot of the developmental stories that we've seen before, which I like, but at the same time, that has a shelf life.
Very true.
And I remember just being a little confused by that, but I think Ben Affleck like knocked it out of the park with the role.
Yeah. Possibility of going back to the older Batman. Who knows where things go in the next 5 or 10 or 15 years in DC, and if Ben Affleck is still wanting to act, can you guys see him doing a Kingdom Come storyline where we get an older Batman, an older Superman, and maybe bring him back in the role in that matter?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think I'd rather see. This is going to be way out there, but like a Batman Begins and bring Michael Keaton back as like an old Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I've seen some people mean that would be pretty pretty epic.
I don't know if I want that.
That would
I mean, you know, in an Elseworlds kind of thing, maybe.
True. Hi.
because that was
You've got me. Who's got you?
Darren Aronofsky's script was Batman. I think he said he wanted to do Batman Beyond or maybe Batman Year One and kind of touch on those story beats. So yeah, you never
Did
know.
I say Begins or Beyond?
No, you said Beyond. I think I might have said Beyond.
Okay. For some reason, I was thinking I said Batman Begins.
I would actually like to see them take a page out of Sony's book, surprisingly, with Spider-Verse and see like a Batman Beyond developed into that, and really, or maybe even with like if the Flash movie doesn't work out, because I'm still not convinced we're getting that movie. I know that they said they're finally like moving forward with it and they slated a release date, but that movie has been through so much shit in the past couple of months.
5 directors, 4 writers. Who's gonna play?
Just like the Uncharted movies, like they can't get it off the ground.
Yeah.
God, he's so good. I wonder what, like, if he is trying to be a Zuckerberg character, like what data he has on Superman. Like, what does Superman's internet footprint look like?
I mean, you think about there were all those metahuman files.
Mhm.
You got to think somewhere. Maybe somebody had some dirt on Superman that he got too.
Yeah.
True.
So I hear what Lex Luthor is saying, and again, his how he was raised, and obviously how he looks at Superman. But do you guys feel that from the character? Do you feel like the execution landed in regards to the hatred that Lex Luthor had on Superman without any prior acknowledgement of one another to this film? Before this film,
I don't know if I'd really thought about that, but that's a good point. Yeah. Why such hatred?
Yeah.
But devil's advocate, is
yeah.
that not the same? Is that not the same thing they did with Batman in this movie? So you're led to believe that while you haven't seen it in the past, these are there are reasons why there are people out there that are not happy with who Superman is and what he does.
But to your point, though, we got again off-screen character development, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But we saw Batman's direct connection to why he, has that hatred. We saw his best friend, I can't think of the guy's name, that dies in the building, and the other victims in the building. That's a direct, like, okay, we can understand where his hatred comes from. But from Lex Luthor, it's just like, again, like Mike was saying, why is he so angry at Superman? I would have loved to have maybe seen.
Yeah, I agree.
A Bruce Wayne scene, something maybe he was responsible for how his dad died or something of that nature, a little bit more explanation of where this hate comes from Lex Luthor into Superman.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Hold on, I'll be right back. My dog is wanting some water and he wants to jump off the bed. Hold on one second. I'll be right back.
I think he really is like killing it in this role. I'm not the biggest fan of Jesse Eisenberg in the role, but right here, especially, it's just really great.
Yeah.
Love the music.
Oh, the music's so good. It's funny because you said you just went ahead and pulled the trigger on buying that book. I've seen I'm a big vinyl guy, and I've seen the soundtrack for this movie on vinyl, and I keep passing it up, and I'm like, I kind of want it. I kind of want it now.
Yeah, it is a great soundtrack. Oh, and I love these scenes too. Oh. I think that's what's really cool about like the live watch alongs that Zack Snyder's doing, and the reason why I just pulled the trigger on that book is just seeing again the vision and page or script to screen what it ends up looking like. I think that's just incredible.
Yeah.
He always during the watch alongs he pulls out these big giant books and for today's he had 5. But he'll like try to hold it up and the lighting's terrible so you can't really see, but they're like sketches that he did of each scene. And it's kind of like the Parasite Bong Joon-ho like storyboard book in a way. It's just so neat.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Gal Gadot's like, hello.
It's like I've gotten like the visual dictionaries for Star Wars movies that kind of enlighten you a little bit more about some of the things that are in there, but I've never gotten into the art of books, and I should check out some of those too, because those are from the stills that I've seen are really beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean, especially I got to imagine for like Force Awakens and stuff, especially the last trilogy. I think because a lot of the Palpatine's throne was originally was supposed to be in Force Awakens, I think, right?
Yeah, it was underwater, and like they pictures of the Millennium Falcon like actually in the ocean.
Yeah,
which I think that would have actually bothered me though.
Really?
Oh, so now the Falcon's a sub. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Anything is possible.
That's new.
Boys Share 2 is the subject. I love that.
Yeah, I love Zack Snyder's again being so grounded. That is kind of like a very scandalous, like sending someone an inappropriate picture via text, right? He has like this picture that doesn't want to get leaked. Breaking news.
Who are you?
How many more hero films actor ever has been some sort of comic character? Yeah. I think we're going to see every actor having played a superhero at some point.
Well, and what's funny is there was a time where A-list actors didn't want those kind of roles.
Yeah. I remember this leaked a while, like before the movie came out, the scene with Ezra.
And I'll be honest with you guys, a gripe that I have with this film is the very first time we see the AKA Justice League are like flash drive scenes. I don't know how you guys feel about it. It's obviously so cool. We can see Aquaman, Flash, Cyborg, but I'm just like, to me, that was just so cheesy to me. It's like we see them in the form of a flash drive versus maybe seeing these scenes, actually take place within the film. But
I thought it was brilliant.
Oh yeah,
I really did. I just like the way they set it up. Like it's not. Well, I guess you can make the case that it is forcing it, but I think putting those scenes in would be forcing it as well.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. You'd have to kind of justify how we would be getting to those scenes, whereas like this, they can throw it in there.
I think this kind of tries to justify Justice League, right? Like, and especially at the end when we find out what happens, then they say, we gotta go find them, and like, what if they don't want to fight?
This out of the three, this was the one I actually liked because I thought it was just a little bit more creative and it gave you a little bit of backstory on the character where like you're just seeing a guy in a boat. Obviously, we know it's Aquaman. You're seeing Flash at a 7-Eleven, getting a Red Bull. Like I thought this one was actually pretty cool because it gives you a little bit of like, okay, his origins to a degree. Again, we don't have to get like an origin movie of Cyborg, but they're giving you a little bit of insight of how he was created.
But we were supposed to get an origin movie of Cyborg at some point,
supposedly, too. Yeah, him then it became like a Flash buddy cop film with him and the Flash making an appearance in this film.
Go to the ship. I'm probably there already. Jenny, get her a chopper to go.
Poor Jenny. Jenny's been through hell in these movies.
Yeah,
right.
Taking orders from Perry.
18 months prior, she almost died.
Yeah.
Oh, love this.
I think I remember too, like in when Man of Steel was coming out, they were talking about Jenny was actually going to be like Jenny Olsen, and so they were doing like a gender swap on there.
Oh, gotcha.
I think they were testing it for a little while, like dipping in the water to see what people thought of it. The imagery here is just amazing.
Again, yeah, Zack Snyder, man. Like I said, he knows how to paint a picture.
There's no time.
Oh,
Bye.
that's the thing, man. The build up, and then once you get to this point, I mean, there's just
It's wonderful. We have a controversial conversation coming up, and I hope you all are prepared for it.
Oh,
It's
yeah. Yeah.
one word.
One word that changed the world.
Well, that's a great picture right there. So just for
Stuart?
everyone watching, we are we are at 2:04 in the 2:04 minutes, and we still have a little ways to go. Is this an additional piece?
That toss there.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
I don't. I think that they kept, because it was, again, like you guys said, this is such a great scene. I think they actually kept this scene because this was like maybe the exact, like, oh, they finally fight. So I would imagine they probably kept all of this in the cut, but I'm not 100% sure.
yeah, I don't know.
What is this question? Guy, can you let us know what the refrigerator question was?
Oh, is that alluding to your channel?
The answer to that question
Is it Phyllis?
was Phyllis Smith.
I got that one right.
It was Sadness.
Yeah.
In Inside Out, she was married to Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration in The
Favorite
Office.
sitcom. Yeah, I knew that one right off the bat when you had mentioned that one.
I thought that would be the easiest one, and only 4 people answered it. All 4 people that answered it got it.
Of course, I got Hayden Christensen.
Yes, Hayden Christensen, technically on there twice. The twin question I had to throw out. I was explaining this earlier.
Yeah, it's like 5 twins.
So the way that I've been doing the questions is I would like write out like what I'm thinking and just put general like ideas. And sometimes I have to refocus them and like zero in on who I'm intending. And so today when I was like recording the videos, I accidentally read the original one of like, oh, who's the twin? Without zooming in on Armie Hammer was who I intended.
Oh,
Which, speaking of Armie Hammer, I remember the rumor for a while, and he was cast as Batman in Justice League Immortal,
Yep.
but his name was brought up in the potential Matt Reeves Batman too, potentially. But obviously, we know that didn't work out. Were you guys have a certain actor that you out of the? It was what Armie Hammer, obviously Robert Pattinson, Nicholas Hoult. I can't remember who else was one of the more bigger names. But did you guys have like a preference or someone that you were rooting for, or were you happy?
I was actually on. I was on Team Armie Hammer.
Armie Hammer.
It's not.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm just not a big fan of his. I'm looking up who was rumored.
See, I skipped Lone Ranger, so I don't have that poor taste in my mouth to go against. So
Yeah.
Kit Harington, apparently.
Oh, I don't see that.
no.
This list is completely off. Oh wait, here's Robert Pattinson on the list. Armie Hammer. Aaron Taylor Johnson. I can't.
I
see
love
that.
this.
Yeah.
The smile.
Like,
Just when it wears off. Oh,
Catherine Battle.
I think maybe what they should do is just throw all this way, start all over, give us a Super Friends movie, and make sure the Wonder Twins are there.
I want to know when we're going to see Crypto. The
Good
dog.
question. Yeah.
I love this scene because when he shoots him in the air, he kind of just like freezes and falls. Oh, you know who else was rumored for a little while? Matt Bomer
Oh, for Superman or for Batman?
for Batman.
For Batman.
I could see that.
I could too. I
He's
thought,
almost a little too Henry Cavill-ish, though.
I could see him as Superman for sure, but I don't know if Batman. I mean, he has the charm and charisma for Bruce Wayne for sure. I don't know. I just don't know as far as maybe the Batman aspect of the character.
I just don't think he has the bravado of Superman. You know what I mean? Like, nor like, and I think he's a little shorter too. Huh.
That's gotta hurt.
That wood does not look strong enough to hold him.
100%.
That was a little rotted.
I remember when this first, like the images of this first came out, or maybe it was when the movie was first screened. I was trying to find if there were like any Easter eggs on the
little pillars or which I think they said there wasn't it?
I thought there was a Joker one.
Joker or Riddler, even like a little question mark. Or something.
That's what it was. And the Superman pillars. Let's see.
During the Man of Steel watch along, did they talking about the scene where when he comes out of the ship and kind of has that like Jesus Christ floating pose, or talk about how that created a little controversy? Yeah,
He didn't talk about that controversy in particular, but just talked about how he always wanted that shot to like be kind of like a transition from like what he like from the ship and from the conversation he was having with Jor-El at the time to then recognizing that he had to go and save the humans.
Gotcha.
And like that's when Lois Lane was spiraling out of control. And all right, here we go.
Here it is. Yes, exposition. We got to go back and explain Martha.
Show the pearls. Show the pearls. There we go.
Which I don't know if you guys were ever at one point or still are Walking Dead fans, but I always got a kick out of I can't think of the character's name, but Negan obviously playing Thomas Wayne and Lauren playing his mom. And I don't know if you guys ever watched Walking Dead?
A little bit.
Oh. No.
Okay.
Gotcha. That was emphatic, Mike.
There we go.
All right. So, what are your thoughts on the whole Martha storyline?
First of all, what's funny is all those years reading those comics, I never put that together that their mom shared the same name.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that stood out as relevant. I don't understand why he didn't just say you've got to find my mom, save my mom. But maybe I don't know.
Martha then just struck a chord with him because his own mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm there with Mike. I see what he was going for. Obviously, the connection, mom, and you can see, okay, this alien has a mom that happens to have the connection that I have with my, I lost my mom, and he wants to save his mom, who happens to be Martha. Saving Martha, I can save Martha. I get it. And also too, to again, not DC versus Marvel, but there is a particular character who names Strike a Bell with Captain America. Whenever you say Bucky, he just drops everything and wants to. Bucky's is his magic word, right? So there is names trigger. I mean, even in human life, there's certain things that trigger us. There's certain words that trigger us and make us stop and think in certain moments. So I get it, but the execution, I can definitely see where it is a cringe-worthy. I don't, as much as people talk about, I don't think it's the worst scene or really destroys the movie, but I can see the memes and see why people make fun of it.
I'm sorry for listening.
It's just, it is almost like a hypnosis thing, and like that was the snap out word or something like that, because it's just the amount of change that Bruce goes through just from hearing that. It's
But I think my other question is, what would be the alternative? And obviously we're not going to think of that. Like, I'm sure they thought about a bunch of different things.
Sure.
But what's the alternative there, right? What else would get him to stop at that point? And that's where I struggle, right? Like, it's a familial connection, bringing it back to the story of the humanity in these beings.
Yeah. Or I don't even, maybe, I don't know. And this is just thinking on a whim in regards to, we see Lois Lane is in this scene. I don't know if she maybe has a phone or an iPad, and I don't know if she shows Batman like there's someone that's going to die based off of what you're trying to kill Superman. His mom is going to die, and I don't know if that's maybe a substitute. I don't know. Again, like you said, that's the alternatives. Again, they said in the room, there's a writer room. Him and Chris Terrio maybe thought came up with that. But yeah, I don't know what the other alternative.
Chris Terrio was probably like, here's a good option.
Yeah,
Emperor Palpatine.
That guy. Yeah, you look at his history, right? How he was so beloved as the writer with Argo and a couple other projects, and now these two big pivotal franchises, Justice League, the Batman vs Superman, and Rise of Skywalker. It's just like, I hope he gets a job. This
is my favorite Batman scene ever, by the way.
Yes.
But yeah, going back to Chris Terrio, no one really brings him up as like part of the creative vision of these movies.
Exactly.
And JJ and Zack Snyder get like destroyed over them.
Yeah. And this just reminded me, we were talking about the Arkham games. This was just reminding me of Arkham, just Batman.
I was just about to say that.
Like, I love this scene.
This is so cool.
Now, some of these folks died, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. I died. There's some paralyzed, some people that won't be walking normal from after this scene.
Look how that guy just slides down that hole.
Yeah, this is just so awesome. Which again just makes me like, I would have loved to see Ben Affleck again take this and take that momentum and put it in his film, and just imagining him and Deathstroke just going hand to hand combat.
Oh my God, yeah,
so awesome.
That would have been incredible.
Yeah. Because this Batman really isn't, I think of Christian Bale and Ra's al Ghul having kind of some martial arts. This is just a brutal, like, bare bone. He does whatever it takes to knock you out type of Batman.
Right.
This is kind of like John Wickish.
Oh, yeah. Again, it's just like whatever tools there's disposal, punching you, headbutting you, kicking you, stabbing you. This man is brutal.
This is such a great scene. Oh my God.
Finish him. I mean, look at the anger. Like he's out. He's knocked out, Batman. He's out conscious.
Let him go. Let him go. And the use of the suit here.
Yeah.
And the accessories on the suit. It's so cool. Accessorize, Batman. Accessorize. Martha Kent has a line coming up here that I really enjoy. It's cheesy, but I love it.
That's definitely my favorite Bat suit too.
Yeah, I agree.
So gorgeous.
It is amazing how they can take the bat symbol in every movie or every version of Batman that comes out and morph it a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like, and I like what they did with the upcoming one as well. Like, the rumor being that it's like the pieces of the gun that killed his parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't decided how I feel about that one yet, to be honest with you.
What's holding you back?
A couple things. One, that means that it's definitely more armor than it is a suit, which I kind of like how this one is just like a suit. But also, this is such a small detail, but it loses the ears on the bat symbol.
Yeah.
That's true.
Who would win, John Wick or Batman?
I'm going Batman.
I'm going Batman.
10 out of 10 for me. I love John Wick, but yeah, it's no competition. Well, I don't want to say no competition, but yeah, Batman. Take him out.
Bearded here says Wick. He's not afraid to kill.
Well, apparently in this movie, Batman.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, this Batman isn't either.
And Bearded
Even if
also
he tries
says,
not to.
Yeah, he doesn't like the bat cowl of this one.
Oh no, I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of cowls, did you see there was a story recently that like I guess it was, who was the actor that was supposed to play the Flash in the previous Justice League incarnation?
Adrian Brody? Was it Adrian Brody?
No.
Brody, not Adrian Brody. It's the guy who was, I know he was in Shazam as one of the characters, and he was in
Adam
is it Adam Brody?
Adam Brody. That's exactly what it is.
I think that might be it. Yeah.
They were like, they released the cowl for the Flash.
Yeah.
There is no distinguishable look or anything in that cowl. Like, it's just a mold of like.
Exactly. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Man, we're reaching for content.
So here he is, the abomination, the creation of Lex Luthor, his Doomsday.
Which, Doomsday originally is a science experiment. He is a created being.
Yep.
Also, side note, if you ever get the chance to watch, there's a Krypton episode where they discuss they show how Doomsday came to be, and it's a different interpretation, but it's awesome. It was so cool. It actually it was kind of heart-wrenching, like how they did it. I was really impressed. And then the show got canceled. It was great.
It did get canceled?
Oh yeah, it got canceled. They set up for a season 3 and where it would go, and Sci-Fi was like, nope.
I think that's the problem. I think it was on the wrong network.
I totally agree with that. I was hoping that someone would pick it up because there were rumors they were shopping it around.
Oh, HBO Max. That could be an opportunity there.
Well, and the actor that played oh God, I'm forgetting his name in it, but the Superman's grandson essentially was incredible. Cameron Cuff. He's great.
This is so random. In my head because it's odd. But did he say anything about Fiona? Did she die?
Hey, someone's screen is giving a lot of feedback here. It's like, there you go. Yeah, that's better.
I didn't realize it was starting to get kind of loud there. Sorry.
It was like Doomsday was on our StreamYard. Elliot, ask that again.
The Fiona, is she? I couldn't remember. Did she die in Man of Steel? The only reason I thought that because again, Zod and the creation of Zod and Kryptonians. But is she officially off the table as a character? Because I don't remember her dying in Man of Steel.
That's a good question.
Like I literally don't remember what happened. Well, because the guy from what was it? What's that show? SVU or whatever it is. Elliot.
Christopher Maloney.
Yeah, I can't. Did he kill her with the ship or something? I really can't remember because I would love to see Kryptonians make an appearance in future DC movies.
Oh, you're talking about it's not Fiona, right? It's
Am I saying it wrong?
An
F.
That's now I'm confused.
I know who you're talking about though, and it is similar to that.
I think she's dead.
Okay. Because I was just wondering, is there any other Kryptonians that can come back from Zack Snyder's kind of introduction to those characters? And
yeah,
because I think Zod is an underrated character and underrated villain. It doesn't. Michael Shane doesn't get enough credit for his interpretation of Zod.
Yeah.
Oh, he was great. Feora.
Fiora.
Yeah. I almost said Furiosa, but I knew that was wrong. It's that crossover again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's getting ready to run again.
Mm-hmm.
All right, gentlemen. 2 beers and a Yeti full of water. I didn't think I would make it all the way through, so I'll be right back.
Go for it. Oh yeah. So the one thing I love about Doomsday, which we're about to see, is the way that he channels the energy and the way that he absorbs energy to grow. That's a key piece of Doomsday.
Yeah, the mythology of him, how he can regenerate himself.
Mm-hmm. Like right here when the that's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Oh my god,
that is
the
awesome.
visuals.
Visual, yeah. Again, I will, regardless of what people say about maybe his storytelling, this, that, and the other. Like I always think of Zack Snyder as like the more polished version of a Michael Bay, if you want to call it that. In regards to he handles action really, really well, but I think he just handles it. He tames himself more so than what a Michael Bay would do in regards to action.
That's a good way to put it. This is so cool.
And that's what
I know I keep saying that, but
I'm right there with you. That's another thing that I love about this interpretation of Superman is you get to see him kind of what it looks like when Superman fights a Kryptonian, fights a Doomsday, how, if Superman were to actually fight Batman, like it was a guy in this film, like how visceral he can be, how powerful he is.
Mm-hmm.
I love what Zack Snyder does with his fighting style.
It's very true.
I love that fight in Man of Steel, like just the punches of him and Zod is just I just love that.
During the battle in the Smallville battle in Man of Steel, when there's a scene where they're all beating up on him, the 3 of them, and Henry Cavill, like Superman, goes to fly away, and they just slam him back down.
Yep,
that is one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, these are my this interpretation. Like I said, this Superman, the way Zack Snyder shoots Superman in this fighting style is just so epic to me.
Yeah,
I love his camera.
Oh, I totally agree. And this also was very much from the comics, not shot for shot and direct story, but.
And I know that the comic book purists were kind of upset about this particular. How quick and short the kind of the death of Superman and kind of the iconic shot of him being dead and kind of, again, we got maybe allusions to Dark Knight Returns and then allusions to the death of Superman. So there are a lot of pieces that they're trying to tie into this film as far as inspiration from the comics.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree with that. And this is where it turns into a Cloverfield sequel.
I love this though. This was so funny to me going back to Man of Steel and the I guess the pushback of the destruction of Metropolis. How they're like, oh, they're on an inhabited part of the land. There's no people there. So like, because I know everyone was just like, he's just killing people. There's people dying.
Yeah.
Superman isn't doing anything. And just like, we'll fix that. We'll just put them on an island.
Speaking of, I would hate to be a builder in Gotham. You'd be rebuilding everything at least 10 times.
Which that was I don't remember the name of that show, but I remember DC had a show where it was like the crew that like picks up behind the superheroes. It was like I think Vanessa Hudgens was in it, and it was like a group of people that literally just pick up the pieces of when the superheroes fight. They have to clean up the town. I don't even think it made it a full season, but it was like an NBC show.
It kind of sounds familiar.
I can't remember the name.
Never heard of that.
Vanessa Hudgens was like a character. I gotta look it up, see what the name of it was.
That's so funny. You know, I'm just noticing even the S on his chest looks distressed in that scene. That's kind of cool detail. I would have loved if you would have seen him like turn a different shade of like
right then and there. Damn it! I gotta pick up behind you guys and take out. That would have been great.
I do love the Batwing here.
Mm.
It's a really cool design.
So the name of the show I was referring to, it was on NBC and it wasn't a DC universe. It was titled Powerless, and it was in 2017.
Oh, yeah. That recent.
Yeah, and then I
do remember that
3 episodes, and they like cut it pretty quickly.
Wow.
NBC has a history of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, then they did incorporate a plot kind of like that in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man Homecoming, yeah, with Adrian Toome's crew. Yeah, yep.
Very true.
Which I just love those like ideas of like even going to the Star Wars universe, and we talked about it just recently on Rogue One watch along. It's just like I would love to explore the world of like just people living in the world of superheroes and like what a day looks like for them, and you know the aftermath of some of these big battles. And it's definitely Star Wars. Just like what happens when a stormtrooper goes home from a long day of just walking up and down in their blasters. But yeah,
or stormtroopers at target practice or something like. I would love a comedic to like some of these. Oh, this is the best one.
Oh yeah.
Once again, I said the best. Mike, get your guitar.
There she is. I gotta admit, though, one of the things I hated about that second or third final trailer was that they showed us this in the trailer. This actual scene. I was so upset about it.
Yeah. That's definitely a trend that's been happening for several years now. Just showing way too much in trailers.
But yeah, I would love to see a comedic take. Like, where were you? I was dying in outer space because I was nuked. Right? Where were you?
Exactly.
Right?
Taking a vacation at the Themyscira. Are you guys looking forward to that too, by the way? Just speaking of Wonder Woman and the spinoff of the Amazonians and the whole like spinoff or movie that Patty Jenkins is developing.
I think so. I know she's not planning on directing that one herself, but I know that, so it could go wrong, could go bad, but I think there's definitely some stories to tell there.
No, I agree. What about you, Joe? Is that something you're looking forward to seeing whenever we'll get that film?
I am very excited about WW 84, Wonder Woman 84. I'm very intrigued as to how they're going to bring back Chris Pine and what that whole storyline is. Mm-hmm. I'm honestly wondering if it's like her projection of some sort, like that. I don't know. I've been trying to rationalize that for a while, and I can't.
I've seen a lot of the theories out there in regards to Pedro Pascal's character and who he can be playing and how how he can bring Steve Trevor back.
Yep. So I'm pretty pumped about that. The Amazonian one, I'm indifferent. I think there's a lot to explore there, and I love that there seems to be, Patty Jenkins has that excitement around it. So, and she's done well with the movie, with Wonder Woman 1 and Wonder Woman 2 looks phenomenal. So we'll see.
I see a lot of potential with that movie, though, because I see a direct correlation to Ava DuVernay's New Gods and Amazonians, just because of Zeus and gods and all that stuff. I see a direct tie-in, so that would be pretty cool. And
that'd be cool. Yeah,
I'm really interested to see what another spinoff is. I don't know how you guys feel about Aquaman's The Trench, which I thought that scene was. We talk about gorgeous looking scenes. That trench scene in Aquaman is just so amazing. But I'm just so curious what they would like. What's a trench movie look like?
Yeah, that was a weird rumor for me. I'm wondering if that's actually going to come to fruition.
I think just recently James Wan was saying that it's still something in the works.
I don't think I'd heard that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's going to be more probably of a background film, or a what's the word I'm looking for?
Just like a spinoff, more. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a spinoff, but it's more of a. Oh God, it's slipping my mind. We've been watching this movie far too long. But explaining how the trench came to be, origin story.
Gotcha. A prequel, if you will.
Yeah, if you will.
That shot is so amazing right here. My gosh, I would just love to frame that and put it on my wall.
Yeah, it's like Harry Potter and Voldemort, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I think that could be cool. I hope that DC doesn't start doing really random shit now. I don't know. They have to find a direction somehow.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's just like you're making the Trench and Amazonians, but yet no Man of Steel 2. We haven't seen the Green Lantern in this particular universe. We haven't seen a Supergirl or whatnot, but let's make a spinoff of a particular scene in the film. But yeah, I can hear it. Yeah.
Right.
Except for the Green Lantern in that the explanatory exposition flashback that Wonder Woman has in Justice League, they show the Green Lanterns real quick, and that I was like, oh my God,
yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You see Zeus and see Ares and all of them and the Kryptonians, or not Kryptonians, but all that was an awesome scene.
New Gods worries me because of the comparisons it's going to get to the Eternals. Very similar in that way, but that scene is amazing.
Which one's coming out first, though?
Eternals.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out this November. I think it's February now that it took. It took that slate. Yeah, but yeah, you're so right. Yeah, the New Gods and Eternals are like Jack Kirby craziness, crazy costumes, crazy storylines. So yeah, I could definitely see that comparison. So hopefully Ava can get that on screen sooner rather than later. Because I love Ava DuVernay.
I do too. I think that's a great pickup for that movie. Phenomenal pickup.
It's like A Wrinkle in Time. That's everyone has their stinkers, but I don't know if you guys saw When They See Us. That's one of my favorite thing on television. And I thought she did such a great job with that show.
She did.
Wrinkle in Time was
not so much.
Yeah.
What's funny is that was one of the very first movies we ever reviewed, and we were like, man, maybe we should just stop.
Starting off strong.
That's funny.
Going back to the music, this is
so epic. I love that little smirk too of Wonder Woman when she gets knocked down. Like, okay.
I see you.
Exactly. Gosh,
it's crazy though. I still hear some people saying that she's just the girl from the Fast and Furious movies.
I'm way past that.
Oh my God.
I am so beyond that. Like, she is, again, when I think of Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot just comes right in mind. Like, I think she is just such a perfect casting for the character.
100%. Yeah, I will say I think casting for the main stars has been pretty solid. I mean, even with the Justice League characters, like, I think Aquaman's phenomenal. Obviously, Ezra, I want to see what he does more, but I enjoyed his comedic timing and everything in Justice League. And Ray Fisher as Cyborg, I loved him. I just wanted to see more.
Yeah. Which is always something you want, right? As an actor, you would probably want people wanting to see more of your character versus less of your character. Yeah.
that camera angle right there as it like zoomed into him was so cool.
Yeah. And that's another thing I love about Zack Snyder as a director. I know he has like cinematographers on his films, but he does a lot of his own cinematography. Like he does a lot of work in camera. So I always love, again, he just paints such a beautiful picture with a lot of his films.
Yeah.
And I know we'll get to it, but in regards to Superman dying in his second film, I don't know how you guys feel about that.
It was a bold move.
Very bold.
It felt rushed, but at the same time, I keep playing devil's advocate, and I apologize for that. But it felt rushed. But I also like that they took the chances they did, because I think it really kind of lets them tell a different type of story. I wonder if it feels rushed because we've seen like such a build up to, obviously there were 50 some years, no more than that. Yeah, 50 some years and before he died in the comics. And then, there was such uproar about it when that happened. So of course there'll be uproar when it happens in the
films. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if there had been a lot of time in between this and Justice League and bringing him back, maybe, but this late into the movie and then they bring him right back, I think it's okay. Because there was never any doubt that he was coming back,
Yeah. Which I had mentioned very early on in regards to just one of my issues with the film is, and again, it kind of harpens on as Joe mentioned, the arc of we got Man of Steel and seeing the progression of the character. In my personal opinion, I think this is more, if we were to call out, who has the more arc, more of a character development, I think it's more of a Batman film than it is a Superman film. And I feel like, unfortunately, with Henry Cavill's Superman, I personally don't see the character growth from Man of Steel to BVS, because I feel like he's almost kind of the same character from what we got from Man of Steel and not much of a progression of the character personally. And that's really where kind of my criticism comes in with this film. Is just, again, and we have the death of Superman. It's just like, well, we haven't gotten, quote unquote, a Superman before we see him die.
Well, even in universe, he's only been Superman for less than 2 years.
Yeah. Which brings me back to, again, the game plan I appreciate what Zack Snyder did, but I would have loved to have seen a Man of Steel 2 before.
Yeah, I agree.
BVS.
I do think that you do see growth in the respect that he saved humans at the end of the first one and killed a Kryptonian. Mm-hmm. In this one, he sacrificed himself again, to destroy a Kryptonian.
I love this shot too, by the way.
It's really cool.
Beautiful art piece.
So I think, I think the whole movie, you see a struggle with Superman, right? Like a struggle of who he is.
But going back to Man of Steel, isn't that similar? Who he is, discovering who he is, and it's repetitive to an extent?
To an extent, I think it builds on it, though, because now you're seeing who he is in the eyes of other people and in society with, going before Congress and them trying to rein in his power and everything. Mm-hmm. This is an edit scene.
I mean, they completely redesigned Steppenwolf from this to Justice League.
Just hanging out. It looks
so gross.
It looks like the Ocean Spray commercials.
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah. Now he gets the iconic bald head.
I love the memes behind this fight, how Batman chills for most of the fight. Yeah. Just watches Wonder Woman take him on.
This is kind of harkens back to oh my goodness, what is the oh man, it's not is it Apocalypse Now? Or Stanley Kubrick's war film where you getting the character shaved
up,
and Vincent D'Onofrio's character. I don't know, it just kind of harkens back to that.
Yeah. Shoot. That's killing me now.
Gotta look it up.
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, that kind of reminded me of that scene of them shaving their heads.
This is different.
That
I
is,
hadn't seen this.
yeah. I don't even. Huh. This is too.
Mm-hmm.
The barber shops are empty. This is kind of like real life. Everything's shut down
right now.
Right? So poignant.
I literally don't remember this at all. This scene.
No, this wasn't in the theatrical.
Yeah. Question for you guys.
Go ahead.
This scene here, everyone that's there, aren't they seeing Henry Cavill's Clark Kent in the coffin and his identity is out? Or is it just how did they play that Clark Kent died and that's Deborah Snyder little cameo? How did they explain like everyone seeing his identity in the coffin?
Oh, is that Pete Ross to the right from
Pete
Man of
Ross,
Steel?
yeah, and that's the preacher too. Some character.
Yeah. They don't explain it to answer your question, but I think part of it is when you see them flip open to the Clark Kent next to whatever. So I think that's supposed to be like, oh, he just happened to die at the same time. Which is a lot of the Superman lore does that a lot. Like you have to suspend belief. Like, look, I'm Superman.
Yeah,
Clark Kent.
Gotcha. Because I would just, I'm at that funeral. I'm like, why does he have a giant hole in his chest? That doesn't seem like what happened to him exactly.
I'll be honest, this is better than theatrical, but to be honest, I still think it's great. We will get final thoughts shortly.
Yeah. What were you saying, Mike?
I don't remember.
I think you were saying anything.
In the ring.
So
is he going to propose by mail?
Got mail.
Fun fact about this, about the Kent house, they completely built this house and barn and everything, and they destroy it in the first one when a car gets thrown through it. So they had to rebuild it again, or like fix it up. The whole first floor was decked out, as we saw in the first movie in Man of Steel, and they did have that bedroom, but they just never used it until this one.
Nice.
Oh, I think I was going to say they probably threw out some story that Kent, as a reporter, was on the scene during the fight and was killed or something.
Gotcha.
And this walk is legit. Like they can walk from where they built the house to to the cemetery. And the cemetery in the first one, you just don't see it. They didn't have that angle, but the house, you can see the house from a distance.
I always remember this scene. There's like a guy that just gives it 110% in the background characters. This guy is like full on bawling out crying. Let's see if that scene pops up. I always love looking at big crowds of people and see who like looks at the camera or does something completely inappropriate for the scene that they're in.
This is a beautiful scene, in my opinion. Foreshadowing.
Yeah. And we're also too, we're expecting that casket is empty, right? There's no one in there.
I can't remember.
Yes.
In Justice League, did they show which coffin he came out of?
It was the wooden one, right? That him and the Flash went to go get from the. But I guess where were they at? That wasn't their farm that they got that body from, right?
Well, no, it was from this cemetery. Because he's not buried on the farm; he's buried in the cemetery.
Well, that's right, and it's that one that we see.
Come up.
Spoiler alert.
I think this line wasn't even in the movie either, right? That Bruce Wayne paid for the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was not there, I should say.
I feel like this is where it picks up in the theatrical. You know, I will say this: DC movies spend a lot of time in cemeteries.
They do. Very dark.
So do the television shows. Like I remember Smallville was in a cemetery like 4 times a season. And I'm like, who now?
You know, going back to Man of Steel, I always thought the kid that played a young Clark Kent
Mhm.
kind of looked like a young shoot, what's his name? The guy who played Clark in Smallville.
Tom Welling.
Tom Welling, thank you.
Yeah.
But the kid in that movie kind of looks like a young Tom Welling.
I can see that. Wonder if we'll ever see like more of the characters from Smallville make appearances, like Chloe. Clearly not that actress because she's like.
I was gonna say, yeah, we won't see her.
Well, it's from a prison cell. Yeah, I love how Patty Jenkins is completely retcon that. Kind of Last Jedi that with the whole lightsaber of Luke Skywalker throwing his lightsaber away. This is like, no, she didn't. No. She didn't go anywhere.
Everyone dies.
She may have done that 100 years ago, but came back pretty quickly.
Yeah, 100 years ago, I walked away. 99 years ago, I came back. Vacation was great. Thank you. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, Elliot.
The guy, yeah, the guy is literally, the guy right here, the black guy, he's giving it all, Oscar performance, tears and everything.
Mike, I think you have a fan on here.
What's that?
You have a fan on here. It might be your husband.
Showing some
love.
Nice.
Yep, that would be my husband.
Awesome.
From the other room. You know, it's kind of weird watching this, though, just because I wonder what was really going on in Ben Affleck's life. Because he does mention in interviews that this was a horrendous time for him.
Dark time in his life, yeah. Yeah, man. And I always say, you know, obviously we're all, as fans, you know, upset that we don't get to see his interpretation of a Batman. But I do commend him and respect his decision to, you know, walk away from something that was a guaranteed big part of his career and his legacy. But I commend him to step away and make sure that he's right and his family's right. So definitely respect that.
Yeah.
100%.
And I mean, you know, he came out on top, right? Because Arma Damaris, him and, you know, dating in life and such. She's dating a superstar and this seems to be healthy. So that's good.
To be healthy.
I love the little Arkham Easter egg. Got some friends in Arkham.
And coming up, the whole like the bell cannot be unrung.
Mm-hmm. Ding 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 ding.
Yeah, there's something I'm trying to remember the explanation with that, where it was essentially the dark side was coming.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the New Gods and Darkseid wants a Kryptonian, and that goes to the trailer line of Steppenwolf and the Justice League. There's no Kryptonians, there's no lanterns. That once Superman was gone, that was their way of evading Earth and knowing that there's no protectors on the world. So that bell is the death of Superman.
See, and even that could have probably used a little bit more explanation in this film.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of don't know why that just popped in my head, but just when Mike asked earlier about Jared Leto, just the idea of maybe Lex Luthor and Jared Leto being in Arkham, having a scene together, or even a Harley Quinn or whatnot. Just there's so much greatness that can be had with the DC universe and these characters interacting with each other.
I do feel like I remember reading that Jesse Eisenberg filmed more scenes than we obviously saw in Justice League.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering what we'll get from that.
Yeah, because I think going back to Joe Manganiello's story or how they I thought that was a scene that they showed him breaking Lex Luthor out of Arkham in Justice League, and kind of maybe that was the scene he was alluding to, him beating up some guards and maybe interacting with some other Batman rogues gallery and Easter eggs there, but time will tell.
See, I like him now as Lex Luthor. Like once he makes that transformation into like the bald crazy man, I'm into it.
Yeah.
His nose is snotty.
Commitment. It's funny too when you see certain actors like Jesse Eisenberg and certain other actors in the MCU, like Gwyneth Paltrow, that they don't they don't watch these movies. They're like, oh yeah, how was my performance? Was the movie good? Did you like? I always find that so funny that they watch their own movies.
And Gwyneth Paltrow always forgetting that she was in movies.
Yeah, like Tom Holland. I was in a movie with Tom Holland.
I couldn't do that. I have way too much of an ego. I'd watch it like 10 times.
Right.
Mike would be like, I was in a scene with Tom Holland. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this does kind of suck that they never really, even with, I don't know if this was a Snyder cut that we'll get, that they never addressed the dirt coming up from the coffin. If that was ever addressed at all, that he's regenerating or the sun or whatever.
Yeah. Right. And that is that on that. So we just watched 3 hours of a movie that a lot of people are not fans of. Right after we learned that we are getting a cut of a film that people are not fans of next year. But let's do some final thoughts here. What are we thinking? Mike, I'm going to go to you first on this one. What are your thoughts on Batman versus Superman?
I tell you, it gets better and better each time I see it. It really does. The hate that this movie gets from a certain group, totally unwarranted. I think that the bones that this movie put together, it's a real shame what it ended up building afterwards. But I really hope that getting to see the Snyder cut of Justice League, it would be nice if people who maybe had their doubts about the whole thing, after maybe seeing the Snyder cut, can revisit this and appreciate it more.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that for me, it definitely, I track with everything you're saying. I think it gets better each time I see it. And I'm definitely interested to see what we get, how it feels once we see the vision fulfilled, I think is what we're saying here. But Elliot, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, again, like you guys have said, when I first saw the film, I was kind of indifferent. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. I just had to kind of sit with it. And I definitely wasn't the biggest fan of the theatrical run. But once this final cut came out, I remember buying it the first day it came out on Blu-ray and sitting down and watching it. And like me and many others, we all can, I guess, even the people that aren't the biggest Zack Snyder fans can acknowledge this is a better film. When you let the director give his vision, tell his story, things make sense. We might not like some of the storylines, but it's a story he was telling. And that's something too, when I review film, is just like, and we talked about in this review about expectations, and maybe certain things weren't answered. Maybe certain Easter eggs were planted and we might not see in fruition how that plays out. But just looking at this film and what he was going for and the story he was telling, from the continuation of Man of Steel into this and building the universe, this film definitely has a lot of strong points to it. Again, I think this is more of a Batman film than it is a Superman film, and I thought that Ben Affleck did a great job. Mike mentioned it earlier in the stream in regards to the introduction to Wonder Woman. It was a really good introduction. It reminds me very much of a Black Panther and a Spider-Man being introduced in the MCU and Civil War. It's just like it made you can't wait to see their film, and Wonder Woman is such a great movie in my opinion. And even my, me and Joe talked about the character development from Man of Steel to this film. I think it could have been more beefed up, personally, more in a Man of Steel film versus a combination film. But all in all, like you gentlemen have said, this is a really good film. I don't see again, I'm not a big Rotten Tomatoes fan. Like if I like a movie, I like it. I don't see that,
Right.
and it's everyone's opinion, but this is not a 28% Rotten Tomato film in my opinion. The film gets more hate than it deserves, but I think as time goes by, egos go aside. People's, we live in a polarizing time where, Twitter and Instagram, and some people I think just like being part of the hate. Like they just like to hate movies just because it's the cool thing to do versus like people actually like this movie. They're afraid to do so. But, I have no problem saying that, yeah, this film has grown on me. 4 years later, it's something I can still revisit. It's a very long film, but I still like the vision that Zack Snyder was able to tell. And going back to Vision, I can't wait to see his vision next year, wherever we get that Snyder cut of Justice League, to see what he was trying to tell.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. I think both of you completely kind of stole the words from my mouth, because I'm right with you. I love this movie, or I really enjoy this movie. I don't know if I'm at the love point yet, but I do really enjoy this movie. I think that it definitely gets better every time that you watch it. And even seeing the theatrical cut and the full development of the actual story is, not the theatrical cut, I'm sorry, the Ultimate Edition. It really is, in my eyes, a well put together superhero film. I think it's just a very different superhero film than we're used to. And in a Marvel world, everything's going to be compared to that. And when you do anything this drastically different, you're going to get a lot of naysayers. So I'm interested to see how, the arc completes and the full story when we get that next year, whether that's in a miniseries or a 4-hour cut. But either way, we'll do a watch party for the 4-hour cut. So maybe we'll start a little earlier. But
maybe on a Saturday.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But other than that, I thank you guys for being here. I want to give you each an opportunity to just tell people real quick where they can find you and what you guys got coming up. Elliot, coming over to you, sir. Oh, I lied. Yep, there we go. I still can't figure.
No worries. But no, Joe, it's a pleasure to be on your channel, man. I have such a fun time breaking down these films, discussing with you all, and meeting Mike as well. Definitely a knowledgeable person with with this film and his other thoughts and Star Wars and all that. So it was a pleasure being on the stream with both of you gentlemen. So, and I hope to be back on more. But yeah, as far as things to look forward to, I just released a TV review. Again, I review a lot of TV shows and movies, but I just watched The Great on Hulu, the Nicholas Hoult, Elle Fanning retelling of Elizabeth, Catherine the Great, and Peter the Great. So definitely check that out on my channel. And then as far as things to come this week, I started a series about 2 months ago titled Movies I Missed of Last Year, and it's more like independent small films that either didn't come to my theater or I just missed out on seeing. Last week I reviewed Manos, which was a Spanish film, which I really loved, and I'm going to be watching Moose, which I didn't get a chance to see with Calvin Harrison Jr., so I'm going to be reviewing that pretty soon. And then Friday, we have Lovebirds with Kamel Nanjiani and Issa Rae. I'll be reviewing that. And then Saturday, for my horror fans out there, we have myself and 5 other people that I'll be bringing on my channel. We'll be doing a watch along for the 40th anniversary of The Shining. Very excited to break that down and talk to you all about that movie. So those are things coming pretty soon on my channel. And then check me out on Instagram. I do a lot of news related things, interact with you all, commenting, responding to DMs. So definitely reach out to me on Instagram. But again, Joe, such a pleasure of being on this, and thank you for having me on, my friend.
And thanks for being here. Definitely check out Movie Files. Always doing some amazing things. As is Mr. Mike Lovins, making some moves in the world of movie news and delivering all the hot items to us every Sunday. So turn it over to you, sir.
Yeah. So my main thing is the Real Game Movie Show, which is a weekly podcast. So I do that with my co-host Ryan every Wednesday. So we had a new episode drop today. Trying to be creative with not having a bunch of new movies to review. So this week's episode was really fun. We each picked a movie that we personally loved, that the other person had not seen, and made them watch it and then do a review of that. So that was really fun. You can check that out now. And so I've recently started trying to get into doing some video things. So connected to the channel, I've been each Sunday now. I've been putting out a just like a quick, less than 3-minute video of some of the movie news stories that that caught my attention. So that's that. So yeah. So me personally, Mike Lovins at Twitter and Instagram. Although I think my Instagram might be mlovins75. So make sure I get that right. But then also for the podcast, it's Real Gay Movie Show, REEL. So at Real Gay on Twitter, and then Real Gay Movie Show on Instagram and Facebook.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we thank you for being here. Elliot, right back to you as well. Thank you for being here. Guys, Guy at the Movies, you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, all over the place. Biggest thing happening right now is quarantine conversations are continuing. They have become sort of the highlights of my week in a lot of ways. I really enjoy the conversations that I'm able to have with a lot of different individuals within the community. And also guyatthemovies.com has taken the additional step towards reporting movie news. So we'll get that going and see how that develops in the future, but keep an eye there for further developments. Other than that, we thank you all for joining us tonight for this 3-hour Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition watch along. And I thank you guys for being here.
Thank you both.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
All right.